Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, Atlanta. Welcome to the Winners Bracket Finals. My name is hi-rez Bart. To my left, camera right, DM Brandon.
This is Winners Finals.
It is that.
These two teams have battled it through. 8 weeks of qualifiers, 2 rounds before this, and they're going to meet here. At this point, they are guaranteed 3rd place.
That's right. So either team here that loses does go down to the lower bracket where they will face off against the winner of the game the winner of the game over on Smite Pro and the upstairs venue. DM, tell us a little about that one.
Dignitas has already actually fought SK Gaming in round 1. We actually saw a fairly dominant performance coming out from Dignitas, but SK is riding high right now off of their fairly amazing victory over Smite.
Yeah, I saw the boys backstage. They were all really pumped up. Everyone really excited to get that game going. If you're interested in watching that one, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch it with Cret and F. over on twitch.tv/SmitePro or upstairs if you're live with us here in Atlanta in the Loft.
I kind of want to go watch.
You wanted to watch?
I kind of want to go watch.
I mean, I'm sure that I can arrange for someone to replace you. I would be happy to do it. That would be my pleasure.
But what we're going to check out here, Winners Finals first seed coming out of the European qualifiers, team SoloMid. They're going to be going up against the first seed overall, Cognitive Gaming.
Cognitive Gaming, it's going to be the first time we're really going to see them on the main stage going up against a very, very difficult opponent in Team SoloMid. Dignitas struggled a lot with this team, in fact, falling to them.
Yeah.
And I think Dignitas, you know, a very good example of North American play. They've been playing very well here today. We'll see if Cognitive's style and strategies will work.
You know, Snipe has been on a fairly amazing roll throughout. They did actually manage to fall down to 5th place overall. I guess tying with Cloud9, hi-rez, 2 of the most dominant teams in the world. So it's amazing to see how far that we've come, that we're in Winners Bracket Finals. But I don't think many people didn't expect both first seeds to wind up in this far, this far in the bracket.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I would love to see the release the bracket contest and see how many people are still in it. How many people, oh yeah, I'm way out. How many people actually accurately guessed how far we are in the brackets so far. But, Deem, I do want to get your opinion on kind of keys to victory for either team. So let's start off with Team SoloMid. How can they, or what angle do you think that they have over Cognitive?
Shut down Game Hunter.
Shut down Game Hunter?
Don't let him do what he's going to do, man. You can't let him pentakill.
Yeah, you can't let him pentakill.
That won the game. It
Absolutely.
was even.
Dead even.
Dead even. And then for some reason, there was no Weakening Curse, no Divine Ruin, no Brawler's Beatstick. He's just a giant baby healing all of his health up. And then pentakill.
Pentakill indeed. Game Hunter really bringing, you know, that Vamana, that late game hyper carry style of Vamana is really, you know, something that we see, you know, often, but it doesn't often get that far into the build where you really see him kind of turn the corner. And that game did go long. I mean, that pentakill did happen in the later stages of about maybe 35, 36 minutes, which is really where you see Vamana come online. And then we saw kind of in subsequent games, even today, people giving Vamana maybe a lot more respect than he deserved.
Definitely. Now, Cognitive. Speaking of Vamana, I think Omega was really the person who brought that character to life again.
Yes.
After a very long hiatus of him being super, super powerful, he was nerfed, he was buffed again, he was nerfed, and then Omega went 22-2 at PAX?
It was about 20 kills uncontested at PAX in the game that they did end up winning.
And it was an incredible run, and now Cog with a different roster that we saw at PAX Prime have become powerhouses. Dare to Care, Annister, MLC Stealth, Omega Tron, and I think the almost legendary now Barracuda.
Barracuda, hometown boy as well, hailing from just a couple hours south of here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the bands coming out. Odin and Nemesis already off the board. But
who would have guessed?
Yeah,
Nemesis.
I mean, yeah, very, very popular band so far in this tournament. You know, one thing I do want to make sure that we hit here is that Cognitive Gaming has been criticized as a team that is a bit of a one-trick pony. Sure. You know, they really like to run this raw mid, Freya in the jungle, and teams are speculating if they can keep them away from those picks, that's a really good opportunity to maybe pick up a win.
There's one thing I've learned casting, it would be never underestimate Stealth.
That's right. Stealth, a very, very competent player in the mid lane.
His God pool's huge. He's an incredibly intelligent player. And, you know, during the tournaments, during the qualifiers, people were asking them, how are you guys so dominant? Why are you winning so much? His hashtag.
Oh, and there's a big part of it, DM. Andister's tier out of the jungle, one of the best in the world.
You know, and I have been a big proponent against tier jungle, and Andy was the one to change my mind.
So we're going to see Team SoloMid counter with a Chalk. They still have one more pick here. No big surprise to see Chalk come off the board this early.
Yeah.
Tier versus Chalk. pretty similar in terms of what they bring to the table in the laning phase. Obviously, through the team fight stage here, a bit more control, more often that he's able to kind of control players and move around the fight. Shock, of course, brings the AoE ultimate and the slow and sustain. Oh my goodness, they're going to pick up the baby here on top of the Shock, giving them a tremendously potent front line. But what we're not seeing here is any kind of support or guardian, so it's likely to be the Shock jungle and Vamana solo that they're locking down.
Most likely that, and Sun Wukong has been taken off the board already. Geb is a pretty big pick here. I would expect a Geb pick, honestly.
Yeah, Dare to Care, definitely a competent Geb player. You know, it kind of depends on what they want to put Barracuda on. Obviously, you want to find that right match with the Hunter. Geb, of course, synergizes well with many Hunters, but probably stronger with gods like Apollo, perhaps, than something like an Anhur, who is maybe a little more suited to go with the Guan Yu or the full-on Guardian with knockups and kind of set up for his.
The one trick, oh, and a lock of Amuz and Ka.
There he is, the B coming out at the second time, I think, in this tournament. That, of course, going to be going the way of Barracuda. And now, all of a sudden, there's a lot of options over here for Cog.
There is a ton, and actually, I'm really excited to see AMC. When we did see AMC on the main stage last, it was Zatman.
That's right.
Going up against that Hercules support, and he dominated.
Crushed him. Oh, TSM taking a look-see-poo here at the side, and they're going to lock him in for the mid lane. And Guan Yu as well, who's going to be running their Guardian, most likely. I mean, they could show something we've never seen before, but we expect that to be a Guan Yu support role, and Poseidon in the mid lane.
Interesting. There's no Hunter on that side. Either they're going to run another mage somewhere else, possibly a double support lane, or they're going to run 4 physical. They're not going to get Freya, though.
Yeah, that's a very smart pick from Cognitive. She would have been a wonderful pickup for TSM.
Yeah.
Would have really complemented this roster. You get that style of ranged carry. You can put her in the duo lane, and they really need the magic damage desperately here. And it's going to be Geb and Freya locked in now, and it's going to be Apollo, maybe for, well, likely not for Game Hunter, even though it is a quite a strong pick for him. It is going to be going over to the Bay.
Yeah, the switch immediately. It looks like we're going to see Shock going into the solo lane. Wait. Vamana is going to jungle?
Oh, wow. Okay, it's going to be jungle Vamana for Cubo Fred. Is that right?
No, it can't be right. They're going to switch.
We'll see. We'll see what they do end up with here. And no. Okay, yeah. Chalk is for Cubo Fred, Game Hunter in the solo, as Vamana Lobster in mid lane for Poseidon. Trickstake and Young Bait will be your duo lane. There, you see the switch just coming through. They just wanted to give us a little run for our money.
Barracuda does have Amuz and Cobb. It looks like Omega's going to take Tyr in, and Andy's going to grab Freya.
That's right. So we are just moments away from getting into game, ladies and gentlemen. This one is looking like it's going to be a great one, and I think that kind of during the pregame analysis, we were saying Cog a little bit of, being criticized for being a little bit of a kind of one-dimensional team with their picks, but they've got those picks here.
That's true. That is definitely true. They got their Raw. We see Ananser with Freya, which is amazing. Omega got anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it does take us into the game where it's game number 1, Cognitive Gaming going up against the number 1 seed in Europe, Team SoloMid.
I am super stoked to see what we're going to get here, Bart. Both of these teams have come out with very interesting opening gambits. And throughout this tournament, we've seen a lot of different things, and I just am so interested exactly. We're following Dare to Care, and this is the person I wanted to see to start the game off.
And this is the view, of course, the players do play, and it is a third-person game. Obviously, we want to watch the game from a little bit higher up, so that's the spectator perspective. But, remember, when we see plays going through walls and those such things, those players can actually not see the other players. So it's actually quite potent. Looks like we do have a bit of early jockeying for position on the left side of the map here, where Barracuda's Muzen is fending off quite a few TSM players there. But before we get too far into this, let's go ahead and introduce your teams. The blue team fighting out of the bottom side of your mini-map, the left side of your spectator UI. They are the hometown boys. Ladies and gentlemen, North America's Cognitive Gaming. They are Dare to Care and Barracuda comprising the duo lane. MLC Stealth in the solo as Ra. Andister in the jungle as Freya. And Omegatron will be your... Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Stealth in the mid, of course, is Ra. And Omega in the solo lane is Tyr.
They're going to be going up against Europeans' first-seeded team, second seed overall. Give it up for Team SoloMid. We're going to find Young Bae going to go into the duo lane with Trickstank playing Apollo and Guan Yu respectively. Game Hunter finds his pentakill, grabbing Vamana. Major damage. Lobster going to have Poseidon going mid. And finally, Cubo Fred jungling Shock.
Oh, the chalk jungle. You know, this is always a risky play, and it's always interesting to see how it does go down. More or less so far, we've seen the Europeans tend to play more of the Jotun's Wrath and then a tank item style. Americans tend to play him with damage items right away out of the jungle, so we're going to have to keep an eye on what Cubo's going for here.
Right on the right lane already. Neither team doing too much damage to each other, but it should be noted that the wave has been pushed. Umbrella Rang thrown, and Omega will take some range damage trying to keep them off the tower. This might not be a good play here. Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure how that happened. TSM must have used their hand of the gods there to clear that wave, because Chalk and Vamana together don't bring a tremendous amount of clear. Certainly not more than Freya and Tyr can bring to the table.
I think Tyr and the Freya might just been a little bit late.
Okay, so a little bit of a late rotation to the blue buff, having a little bit of trouble picking up that right side camp there. Looking over in our duo lane, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Cogs, Barracuda, and Dare to Care on the Muzenkov Geb, and they'll be facing off against Apollo and Guan Yu from TSM, Young Bae, and Trix Tank, respectively. DM, any thoughts on kind of the dynamic of this duo lane?
Honestly, it's going to come down to the Stinger. If they could find a Stinger, get level 5 first, hit Apollo, it's going to be done, Skis. There's no way he's going to get out of there without using the moves, but you already see that Young Bae has a small advantage here, sitting level 3. Barra just hitting it now off the first minion of the wave, meaning Young Bae does have a lead already in experience.
Yeah, absolutely. The Stinger, Muzenkov's ultimate, of course, it does do quite a bit of burst damage and provide a cripple. Now let's take a look over the right side lane in the solo, where Game Hunter taking some pressure from Anister and Omega. If they can force him out of this lane and get Omega a small advantage, it will help out tremendously, as he will be able to rotate. Taking a look at the mid here, DM, where Cubo Fred's rotated over. Mid camp spawning in about 15 seconds, and your players will be hitting level 5 and getting their ultimate, so look for an engagement soon.
I love Game Hunter here. He's continuously pushing in, even the fact that he has so little health. I mean, Tyr could kill him at this point, but Omega's not even trying to go for it. I think he might be a little bit nervous.
I don't think he wants to dive into the tower here against the Vamana. The turnaround potential could be very, very strong. They hit you with the slow on both sides. It can be tough to get out of the way, even with a god as mobile as Tyr, where the blue stands fearless.
Looks like both mid camps will go down. One for COG and one for TSM.
Now in the mid lane, you do see Dare to Care and MLC Stealth Anister stacking up, pushing back the mid lane after picking up those side camps, giving MLC Stealth a bit of breathing room. Normally we'll see Tombs do this to provide him the opportunity to fall back or go farm up a backside jungle camp. And that is exactly what you see Stealth doing, rotating around and farming up just a hair more experience.
It looks like right now COG does have a very small gold lead, but there is a very small experience lead in favor of TSM, meaning this is basically at this point still an even game. No one's really missing last hits. No one's really trying to fight too much. No first blood, obviously, just yet. And left side, we do have a level 5 Barracuda and a level 4 Trix Tank. I'm actually surprised to see these two go back here.
Yeah, I am as well. You know, they probably want to pick up the blink onto the Geb here on this first back before they look to initiate. Let's see, pick up the boots one. Is it going to be a blink as well? Yes, there it is coming out. So, you know, I think they want to guarantee that kill, and I think they're probably, unless, you know, you see an overextension in the dual lane, you know, reasonably may look for mid.
Banish, snipe from the back. Here comes Valkyrie's discretion. First blood.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, your Logitech First Blood, and that is COG's bread and butter. They pick up the big wind-up ultimate, they pick up the banish, and they almost always execute that to perfection.
You know, I was trying to mention it before when the picks started to get crazy. They always get asked, how come you guys are so dominant? And they always tell people, hashtag, because friends. They hang out together, they love talking to each other, and their team chemistry as a result just becomes so intense and so smart and so natural that things like that, while it was a good play to all of us, that was an everyday situation for these guys.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, kind of even their rapport as a team here. You know, you have a lot of teams kind of chopping it up together, getting chummy, you know, having beers and really, you know, talking it out. Not cognitive gaming. Away in their rooms, studying up, practicing, ready for this match.
I love their Trix Tank using Tallow Assault right there to stop getting knocked back from the rollout. Banish is going to reset them a few shots. He's going to get this for free with the Hand of the Gods. It looks like they're backing off here thanks to Lobster's rotation.
Big rotation here from TSM. In fact, they're going to bring Game Hunter over towards the mid lane to pressure Lobster and Trix Tank here as well. They're going to give up some solo experience to Omega in that solo lane, but it is all to steal that red buff there. They execute it nicely. They're going to take a look at the blue as well, try to zone out Omega, and TSM finding some experience on the board and taking it away from COG. Omega going to try to make a play at this blue buff, make his way in there. There's a Fearless Shane, Hand of the Gods coming down. He picks up his blue buff, but will he be able to escape this easily with the Lawbringer over the wall?
Oh, we got a Banish too. Baby's in trouble, and he has become a giant. Begins to stomp, but doesn't find a target. Nice ultimate coming out in the Storm Call, going to reduce all damage. And of course, the baby is CC immune at this point, so that Cataclysm did not really work, I assume, the way that Dare to Care intended it to.
Yeah, but they forced Lobster to make that rotation out of the mid lane. They do bring their Geb over, of course, but they're going to leash some experience away from that. Now Omega healing back up with Tyr, as he is quite capable of doing Tyr a very, very potent heal on that blue stance too.
And now he's pushing the wave as well, and Vamana's not really here to defend it.
Cog is deep. Cog finds a kill, and a Q1 Red, they're looking for more. Can it find Game Hunter through the wall? Oh, that beam just a little bit off target, but that Freya banish into Ra's Searing Pain has been just automatic for Cognitive.
You talk to players, whether it's on the forums or the Reddit, you say, who do you think is going to win? NA players almost always say COG. EU players almost always say TSM. And to see this going forward, I bet there's a lot of fans out there that are super excited. But right now, Cognitive has not only 2 kills, but it looks like they're going to have the first objective.
7-minute tower, just under 7, about 6.5, going to go to Cognitive Gaming, and that's going to give them a 2,500 gold experience already in this game. Mid-camp's going to respawn in just a few moments here as well. If they can secure both of these, they will be in a great position to transition into a dominant mid-game play.
We're seeing Omega with that extra gold, gets the Mystical Mail online, going to make him super tanky, especially against Vamana. They have a physical jungler as well in Chalk. This is a really big deal for him, and he's going to become very strong. Dare to Care almost out of mana here. Anister getting chased down, might be in trouble. He's going to be forced to ult early, but he is in a bad spot. He's going to land in the crack, and he's out of here. Trix Tank trying to rush him down. There goes the Thunder Strike's going to hit stealth. He's shielded, but Dare to Care is out of mana. He is out of room to run, but Barracuda's ready to defend. Check it out. He's trying to get something. The turret misses. Youngmei finds stealth in the mid lane in the meantime, but Bear is still chasing down Cubo Fred, and he's getting the rain dance. He's getting to his team to the point where he might be able to get out of here, and Barracuda's not going to find it.
Game Hunter's rotating over from mid. Now they're going to make a play on to Barracuda. Youngmei stingers out. He has the dash. He has the miss. One more auto attack. No banish from Anister. It's good. They're going to turn it around on a TSM Youngmei. And just like that, Cognitive Gaming answers in spades.
Just when I was about to say that, maybe you can kill Barracuda. Maybe that's possible. Out of nowhere, Anister with the banish. Incredible.
Yeah, overstaying his welcome just a little bit there with Youngmei. I think he was, almost baited himself a little bit there. Was like, I have him. Once his cripple wears off from the ultimate, I can dash in, easy kill. As the Mesmerize comes out, needed about 1 or 2 more auto attacks, and a beautiful rotation and banish coming in from Andy.
And it looks like all 3 lanes are still there for the experience to ensure they don't drop a dime there. 3-2 right now. Cog has a 2,100 gold lead?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and really, maybe more importantly, they freed up Tyr. He can go and push this lane out and then come back and look for those ganks into mid. Taking a look at Lobster here, sprint 3, no beads yet. Could be a problem.
I love when the tower goes down. It's like the handcuffs in solo lane have been broken.
That's right.
Allows you to look for the rotations in the mid lane, and we know that Omega likes to appear behind people with that blink and just go for kills every chance that he gets. We don't have the blink online just yet, but Mystical Mail and level 2 boots is going to make him a formidable opponent.
Right side mid camp picked up by 4 members of COG. They definitely want to continue securing those. Left side camp not going to be up for just a bit here, as Omega's going to go ahead and rotate back to the solo lane, clear that up. You'll likely see him push it out and then continue roaming, looking for kills. Does he have Blink online just yet? Not quite. Invested heavily, of course, into that Mystical Mail. Sitting on, not too much gold in hand either, only about 300. So that Blink 3, still, a few minutes away. Team SoloMid has a little room to breathe.
MLC Stealth rotates back into mid lane to clear the way. He actually gets all 6 of those minions, despite them being kind of scattered. Line that up perfectly there. Over near the Gold Fury, we see Anister with a banish. Might turn his sights to Trix Tank here. He will get the slow, but it looks like he's going to back off. Not too much gain there. Banish is on cooldown. Both teams really trying to fight for this mid camp. Looks like it's going to spawn in about 8 seconds.
Yeah, the left side mid camp will be a point of contention here in just a moment, but you got to look out for this blink on Dare to Care. He has the ultimate. He has this Geb, the man with the broad shoulders. Will he blink in? Going to avoid the damage from Shock. Sitting in the rain dance, being slowed down. He's going to be looking for it. I don't think they're going to try to engage here. I think they're going to let that one go, fall back, and count their lucky stars. They don't have to have a fight there. Because I don't think that really at this point in the game, COG needs to take fights. I mean, they're farming better. They're getting better control of the map, and they're putting a lot of pressure. Taking a look at the mid lane. Anister could be in some trouble, DM.
Uh-oh, look at this. The Kraken's already down. There comes the cavalry charge. Gonna find Anister, but the stone shield's good. He created enough distance, and now Andy's just trying to go. Youngbae finally uses the ultimate, and he finds a kill into Andenster right there. Not to mention, Dare has been picked up as well, a 2 for 0. TSM now has the kill lead, but with the objective, it's still in favor of Cognitive.
I got to say that it's probably a nice look for Cognitive not to lose more than just that Freya. Could have been very easily turned around, a faulty rotation, or even piling on to get there, finding a CC chain. Would have really spelled problems. But speaking of that, that is one kind of major deficiency of the draft of TSM here, is they do not have a tremendous amount of hard CC. They have a Cripple, they have a Mez, and they have a Silence, but they don't really have much besides that, except for the Guanyu ultimate, which is not always available.
They have the stun on Cavalry charge is very hit or miss. In that situation, it was miss. He wasn't anywhere close, but they still managed, with proper teamwork, to pick up the kill. Right before that engagement, I was actually going to comment about how we haven't seen Youngbae use Across the Sky effectively yet, but right there, it was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what Apollo, excels at, especially against a god that is significantly less mobile like the B. I mean, losing Cop doesn't have any natural escapes, does get some movement speed from the Hive network, but it's definitely nothing like what Apollo brings to the table, and I agree that's going to be a very important aspect of this game, is Apollo being able to spread out the map, or even maybe see a little shades of Zatman and start initiating some fights and relying on his team to back him up.
I love that, by the way. What incredible diving he did, just baiting the entire team. Barracuda's more the type to bait you repeatedly once the fight has begun. Kite-Yu, we saw it before, just he lives forever. He's immortal.
My question is, are we going to see Barracuda go for the Fatalis build there on Losing Top? We've seen him do it a couple times before in tournament play. Considering they have Anderson already running the Fatalis, I find it hard to believe, but it kind of suits his style, as you were saying. Likes the kite, likes to kind of be difficult to lock down in the team fights, and that item, of course, gives you the added movement speed, plus the passive that gives you no hit penalty if you fire and hit your in-hand attack.
Yeah, for 1 second, which means if you do miss it, you will still incur the penalty. It still slows you down, but your Barracuda, generally that isn't too much of an issue.
Yeah, he's not too concerned about missing those in-hand attacks. Omega rotating over to the right side lane, forcing Game Hunter back out. And it looks like, Omega's still going to keep this tower up. Sometimes you'll see that Soul Laner basically abandon the lane, maybe get 2 or 3 kills in a Gold Fury and say, fine, we'll let the tower fall to the Soul Lane Vamana. But I think they're pretty interested in keeping Game Hunter's gold as low as possible.
Well, I want to talk about Lobster right now. Currently, level 14, highest level in the game, not to mention 6,400 farm, which puts him 3rd overall, of course. Top honors going to Omegatron, currently sitting over 6,600. Oh, Lawbringer's going to steal both. Lobster's in trouble. The beam's going to miss, but they find him anyway. And now MLC Stealth is in trouble. He gets the Stone Shield, Cataclysm, and the double banish. It's going to push them out, a 1 for 0, and the stolen mid-camp. Youngbae actually going to land near his tower and take a swarm for his troubles.
That's right. Maybe most importantly there that they got Youngbae out of the lane. They pulled Barracuda. They forced the Youngbae rotation as well, slowing down his farm. He's going to make his way back, but as you mentioned, Barracuda a little bit behind now.
Oh, I thought they were going to go for the Gold Fury. They put down a sentry. They cleared the ward. But obviously they know where they're going to be, so they back off, ensure that they, maybe waste a little money throwing wards down that they can clear, but none of them too much in an awful spot. Looks like they're just going to opt to take the blue buff from the bottom of Zed, which of course will go to Losing Top.
Losing now sitting on that blue buff, cooldown reduction and mana regen are active. He's going to be able to sit in that lane and farm up quite quickly. Interestingly enough, in this matchup, we've actually seen the Guardians or the Hunter, or I'm sorry, the Guardian or the Bruiser, as it were, in this dual lane a little bit more than normal. I mean, why do you think that is? I mean, what's been dictating that pace?
Honestly, we see a very kind of double jungle meta kind of going on with the supports. They're roaming around. And now we're seeing Tier rotate around a lot as well. I think honestly, it's just Cog has such good rotations and map control right now, and it's allowing them to do basically whatever they want. Luckily, though, for TSM, we've had Lobster throwing out some pretty insane Krakens. Cubo Fred landing those Storm Calls almost every single time, kind of shutting down the space control they would have had normally in those team fights, forcing out beads on things like Silence, which you really don't want to use it for.
Take a look at Omega's build here. It's going to be building into the cloak. We'll see if he leaves this just as the casual rank 1 or will max it out. But what's being indicated here is that this is going to be more of the defensive initiation style tier. Tier certainly not a hard carry. Doesn't bring a tremendous amount of damage or kill potential in the late game, or really transitions into a control god that can soak damage. So it looks like Omega's going to try to play into that a bit more than control the mid game with his kill potential.
Free right camp right there for Cog. That's going to be a free pickup. Left side's not going to spawn for about a minute, so they're going to have an opportunity to rotate into mid. It looks like 3 of them just kind of pushing it down as Lobster and Trix Tank just try to hold the lane, and that they will do. no pressure. I think both teams, again, really nervous to fight as Dare puts himself pretty deep here to try to rotate in, maybe look for counter wards. Actually, he's going to walk through a ward, and that's going to be Youngbay's cue to get out of dodge.
So, once again, we're going to see Chalk with Jotun's Wrath. Cubo Fred nearly finishing it, taking a look at his in-hand gold. Yeah, he's just a couple hundred gold away from having that completed Jotun's Wrath. This item does provide physical penetration and cooldown reduction.
Yeah.
And we haven't really seen it be successful in the jungle yet. It's been the favorite pickup for the EU junglers, and generally speaking, that has been one of the weaker positions.
That's true. Throughout the tournament, we've seen a lot of thrown games. Actually, let's talk about the ultimates here. We saw a Cataclysm. We saw the Storm Call. Cavalry charges down. Bracket just goes as well. So far, not too much loss to the Ether, but people are getting low. Cubo and Trixtank both put on their heels. Dare's getting low as well, and the Thunderstrike's going to hit two of the carries, but here comes
the baby. Backside Game Hunter. Doesn't have the Fatalis online yet, but will create a lot of time and space. Trixtank getting low. Omega's going to dive this tower. Mystical Mark should be enough to take him down if he can't find an auto attack. Blue stands fearless, not going to find it still. A bit of a misplay there by Omega. He may pay for this with his life. Overplay by Kong. Megatron. Down he will go. TSM cleans that one up easily.
Ooh, I can't imagine he's happy about that one. It was probably one, maybe two Mystical Mail takes away, but he just didn't feel safe at this point and was forced to jump out. And now poor Barracuda getting very low, actually insanely low on mana, was going to use the end of it to clear the wave. I'm surprised that we didn't see pressure coming out from TSM, who is now up in kills, but they are still down in gold. They're now even in experience.
MLC Stealth working towards that Breastplate rank 1, likely to turn into the Breastplate of Valor, potentially turning into the Mail of Renewal here. Stealth, once he gets tanky enough, will be able to, kind of really dictate these team fights and really bring the frontline aspect that this team is slightly deficient in after the Dare to Care initiation. So as Omega continues to get tankier and tankier, he's going to be relegated to going to the back lines and trying to zone out the enemy carries and enemy mages, while you'll see Dare to Care be the initiator, Omega in the back line, but it's going to be Stealth that's really the heart and soul of this team.
We keep saying Dare to Care initiation, but every single Cataclysm at this point has been thwarted in some way, shape, or form. We've had Storm Calls, we've had Big Babies, we've had people straight up walk out of it. Right now, Dare to Care doesn't have the presence that we normally, I think, expect from a player of his caliber.
It's going to be another blue buff steal here now for Cubo. Fred easily going to drop that one to the ground. Omega realizing that he is in a bit of trouble now, falling back. Lobster rotating and Game Hunter rotating over, but it's not going to be enough to find that here.
Lord.
MLC Stealth, yeah, they collapse on the Trixtank just in front of the Gold Fury. And that, of course, is going to create a lot of space. No Hand of the Gods available, of course, now for TSM. And that is going to be a free Gold Fury at 18 minutes for Team Cognitive Gaming.
That's a major objective win. Right there was 3 ultimates used just to kill the support, and it was worth, but Kraken! Dare to Care is already on his legs here. Omega's been picked up. Now we do see the Valkyries. Discretion by Cubo Fred. And now they're chasing Lobster deep into the tower. Stinger's going to hit. The Whirlpool will hit, but it's not going to be enough as MLC Stealth. Barracuda picked up the Stinger under the tower. Greedy man.
They do find Annister over near the Gold Fury, trying to kite away a 3-for-2 trade in favor of Team SoloMid. But can they execute off of this? It's going to be a continued engagement. It looks like over the wall is Stealth Beam. That finds his mark. The Smite coming out!
You can't be serious.
Just off the red buff. What a play by MLC Stealth.
Barracuda's in trouble though. Talon Assault doing damage. Solar Blessing was not able to keep him up, though he did try. MLC Stealth really trying to make plays here. The waves have been made 8-9 right now. Cognitive actually has 3,300 in the lead. Thanks to the right tower, thanks to the Gold Fury and the insane amount of farming we've seen for them. Also, it should be noted there's 2,000 experience that separate these teams. And at this point in the game, while that's not a huge deal, the experience is in good places.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think that, one of the things that you're seeing here is that you see TSM find these picks, but they're extending, or they're at the end of team fights, and they're not able to realistically kind of convert those into objective damage or into, even pressure around the map. Kind of a reoccurring theme that we talk about, where when you look over at Cognitive, these picks that they're getting are translating into that early tower and into the Gold Fury there, because they're finding the tanks and taking them down.
Check out my man, Omega, stealing the blue buff again. Just putting himself in harm's way, despite the fact that we've actually seen him drop 2 times. He realizes that he can continuously put himself in harm's way. like we talked about, Bart, before, the Urchin is online, making him a tank powerhouse.
That's right. Urchin is going to continue to become more and more protection-based, +2 protections for each God kill or assist, up to 10 stacks. So they don't have the snipe available here in the mid lane for stealth, so I don't think they're going to try to really engage into Cuba Fred right now. But you know, what it really comes down to here is now, what is Omega's next item? Is he going to go for cooldown reduction? Is he going to go for even more tankiness?
Honestly, I would think the next item is going to be either Jotun's Wrath or Chin's Blades. Maybe he's looking for auto attacks, maybe he's looking for cooldown reduction, but I'm thinking he has enough defense at this point, especially with the healing that he can provide and the multiple escapes. I'm thinking he's going to start building into some serious damage.
Now, what an unbelievable pickup. Oh, hold that thought. We're going to have a Kraken coming out. It's not going to find any targets yet, as Anderson is going to go ahead and get out of dodge with that Valkyrie's discretion, trying to make his way back through the mid lane, but there's a Whirlpool there blocking them off. A Cataclysm is looking good. Down will fall Dare to Care to the baby, rotating in, and that means the Chin sides are done. No Fatalis even, and Game Hunter still sticking to his targets fantastically.
Oh, Stealth got a little bit of a cripple, gets slowed 2 times there by the Umbrella Ring, but will get most of his health back from the Solar Blessing, healing up 79 a tick. As we see the Honey and the Celestial Beam come out to ensure this wave does not get pushed. We don't see many objectives on the map right now, ripe for the taking. So TSM's just going to have to take those 2 kills, and I'm sure they're not too mad about it.
I imagine they are not. Cuba Fred has finished that Jotun's Wrath, working into the cloak as well on the chalk. So, you know, it actually has been fairly effective so far. He's been using his abilities a lot, really making use of that cooldown reduction, doing a lot of zoning with the Rain Dance after the Axe Toss. It gives it a very large AoE to slow down the enemy team. Doing a nice job of tanking up this tower for his team as well. I mean, you can see he's really spamming those abilities, really trying to zone Cog, but the Cog has such long-range initiation with the Blink Tear, the Blink Geb, and the MLC Stealth Snipe, as well as the Banish, all, you know, pretty long-range spells. Actually, I'm sorry, it is actually not Blink Tear. One of the first times.
What is Lobster doing? He was just kind of standing there, not backing. He is no mana. Game Hunter is no mana, but there is also no mid-camp, and he's not going to get too much out of that.
Yeah,
lazy backs.
Yeah, lazy backs. We've seen the lazy backs. You know, interestingly enough, I want to go back to the point of Tier not getting a blink here.
Yeah, I'm very surprised at that. We see a creeping curse. More than likely, it'll be a weakening curse.
Oh, no. It's creepier.
It's weakening. Thank you.
Thanks,
Omega.
But Cuba Fred, yeah, going to get the Banish into the snipe there. They have chalk fairly low, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to really execute much off of this. Barracuda's going to rotate over. They're going to look for a tower here. I like this play with Cognitive. Let's push the issue here. They're going to throw the auto attacks in, and tower goes down. TSM doesn't even look to defend that one.
You know, the same thing happened. They were going down the mid lane, 4 of them were pressuring it. It didn't even seem like they were going for the objective. They're not really paying attention to the map here. They're fighting a lot, and they're winning most of the fights, but they're not looking at the bigger picture, the farm, the gold, I mean, experience. They need to really play towards the strength of their team, and that's a farm team.
Gold Fury going to be coming back up soon here. You can see the team's already moving into position for its respawn. Trixing just getting shredded by Freya. But look over on the right side where Game Hunter is going to get a tower there for TSM. Omega's going to try to turn this one around. He wants to find a kill here, but I think that curse may be enough. Game Hunter now pops the sprint, jukes the Fearless. Omega trying to chase him down, but he's just too slow. Back at the Gold Fury. DM, Young Bay crashing in now. Derek Hare in some trouble. Sitting in the Whirlpool, still tanking up the Gold Fury, and down it will go in favor of Cognitive Gaming.
I'm sure they're screaming Worth for now, but Stealth is silenced, just trying to run. Anderson on the backside actually might find Young Bay as Barracuda takes the Kraken. Actually, Young Bay finds a kill. Young Bay finds another kill. Young Bay finds a triple kill.
Cubo Fred in a lot of trouble now. Anderson going to be able to secure that one. Man is coming out, has the positioning, looking for Lobster, needs the auto attacks, needs to close the distance, is going to find it. Anderson
finds a triple kill. Back to back. Both teams finding something special coming out of that one, except Pog got the Gold Fury.
That's absolutely right, and that is really the make or break difference there. Here you see the third-person shot of Anderson. Wow, what a play that was. Very, very exciting stuff. The triple kill from Young Bay went in very deep, decided to stand his ground, and Anderson rotates in a bit later and just does so much damage. Freya, the Polynomicon now up and running, is able to basically 100-0 any target in about 4 shots.
Man, this game so far has been so dead even, but again, they're not looking on TSM for these objectives. You can see Dare to Care is like, I can tank 4 people for a few more seconds while I fight the Gold Fury.
That's right. Winged Blade coming out for Geb, and honestly, Winged Blade is a tremendously good item in this game against Cognitive Gaming. They have the slow from Game Hunter, the slow from Lobster, the slow from Cuvo, and a slow on Trick Tank. It really reduces a lot of the kind of equity that those gods have in their kits. You know, you got to think of it as, you know, there's 100 points, and a lot of those points are invested in the slow in those kits, and it's negating those, and it's going to allow them to be so mobile in these team fights.
I honestly think it is the most underrated item in the game. The health on it by itself is almost worth the price.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you look at what that item actually grants you. 350 health, which is a large chunk of change there. 10% cooldown reduction, 10% attack speed, and 10% movement, plus immunity to slows. That's for 4 seconds, once every 30. So, I mean, that's it just really gives you the ability to be a frontliner and then disengage, if your team calls you off as this Geb.
So, mid lane, we see more push coming out. Oh, Megatron getting pretty deep here. He will walk through a ward. Youngbei's going to spot this. Omega looks like he's just trying to juke a little bit as we see maybe a fight engage. Cubo Fred's going to get bounced around here. He's looking for that storm call. There it is. Going to silence. It looks like 3 people, but Bera immediately activates those speeds to get it through.
Fred with the jukes, but in the backside, Stealth falling to Youngbei comes crashing in. Here comes the baby. Lobster picks up Derek here. A lot of damage thrown in there by Game Hunter. He's going to miss that slow bait, trying to retreat, not going to find it. Anister on the rampage. 5 kills, no death. Now rotating back in his Lobster. Game Hunter starting to find his damage. Tricks Tank pressuring Barracuda out of this fight, and it looks like it is Team SoloMid's fight for now. Uh-oh, that's a big slow by Game Hunter. Can he close the distance? 1, 2, auto attack. Down goes Barracuda. Away goes Game Hunter.
Omega's trying to fight. Omega's trying to fight. Cubo is low. He's actually going to walk back in here. He doesn't have the health to defend this. He has to be careful. Now you see him. He's going to look for the blue power cleave to heal himself up. He's going to look for the... Actually, he was in the wrong stance there. There it is. He's going to be able to clear that wave without using the Fearless, and that's smart. He saves the mana. He saves the escape. And now he's able to rotate into the jungle and maybe find himself a little bit of a buff here.
And, you know, once again, we see TSM find a lot of kills in this match, but unable to convert an objective off of it. Couldn't even chip down this left side tier 1 too much with a 4-man push into tier. You know, they have to respect that tier because if he is able to control them and he takes that fight and they get baited into a chase, you know, it could turn around very quickly for them.
So right now, we see that there's actually an experience lead for Team SoloMid, but looking at the numbers here, they're dead even across the board, except Andy is 1 level higher than Cubo Fred, meaning the experience difference has been negated as the level 20s are gaining that experience, which effectively isn't worth anything.
That's right, and now, of course, we're still looking at the gold difference. While TSM has made up some ground, so sitting at about 3,000 gold behind Cognitive Gaming. Omega did, in fact, go for that Jotun's Wrath, so cooldown reduction up and running there.
Not that it's really mattered, to be fair. I mean, every single team fight, we've seen TSM come out on top.
Yeah, that's right. TSM has definitely ruled the team fights so far. You know, and it's been the picks for COG keeping them in the game. Their picks just come at the most timely time possible. Yeah. As they're able to really, you know, find that Gold Fury now twice. And that is, you know, the Gold Fury plus the Tower Gold, that's really the entirety of their 3,000 gold lead. So,
yeah,
you know, those towers still stand. I'm sorry, the right side solo did fall a couple minutes ago. But, you know, if TSM can find a couple towers, you know, get a pick, maybe take an objective, they'll be right back in this game, can easily take the lead back. And another thing I want to get your opinion on, DM, before we go here is look at Game Hunter's build. It really delayed that Hasten Fatalis by quite some time.
I was very confused by this, but I mean, he's currently 317. He has sprint, so maybe he didn't need the Fatalis too early, opting instead for chin size, which is going to give him a major amount of damage, especially if he goes into the baby form late. But we are going to get into the Gold Fury as the Cavalry Charge comes out. It does get reset. That was a wasted double ult here, as Valkyrie's Discretion is going to push only 1 down, and Trick Tank is not in a position that he wants to be in.
Rotating over now is Omega on the backside of this fight. All in for TSM. Youngbei using the ultimate, riding around looking for the initiation. Still waiting. Now heading back to the left side lane where TSM looks like they're going to mount an offensive on this tier 1 tower. What can Cognitive do? Gold Fury still stands. There's definitely going to be action on the left side of the map.
Honestly, 4 ults to 2 right now. Of course, there's the Big Baby, there's the Kraken. Those are 2 major proponents. But we still have the Lawbringer, we have the Stinger, we have Searing Pain, and of course, possibly the most game-changing ult, Cataclysm.
That's right. I mean, it's 4 ults to none. Barracuda getting caught out a little bit here by Game Hunter. Going to run away, drop the honey, and pop his sprint. Derek going to rotate in. He's going to use a Cataclysm. Here he is indeed. There's a snipe coming in from Stealth. But he'll jump off the mark, but they have enough damage to take out the Hunter anyway. Cubo Fred going to try to make an escape for his team here. Youngbei chased back into the tower. Lobster with the Kraken, but Stealth is protected by the Aegis and the Stone Shield.
Dare to Care is going to find a shockwave onto 3. Kraken is now wasted. All ultimates down except for the Stinger, and Barracuda has turned his sights to the tower. More objective-based play coming out from Cognitive Gaming increases their lead up to 4,800.
Yeah, it seems like they have a really, really solid game plan coming into this. They're going to look for the counter initiation and turn it into pushes, and it's been very successful so far. Gold Fury going to be falling very, very quickly here now. QFRA going to turn the corner, realize that they're doing it, and then back off immediately. And that is a free Gold Fury, the third of the game for Cognitive Gaming.
Barracuda right now has enough to go back and finish the Deathbringer, which he's eyeing. He's already swinging for 444 crit on the Gold Fury. Add 50% to that, Bart.
Yeah, this is where it starts getting ugly. Cubo Fred, they mistimed the beam there. Actually does MLC Stealth. Cubo going to be able to dash out of that A-OK. Stealth just throwing that out before recalling. Fire Giant being pinged now by the blue team. Looks like they're getting a little antsy.
I think both teams are kind of realizing that this is where we need to be right now. The experience difference has been negated completely, except it doesn't matter anymore. Everyone's level 20 except for Dare to Care and Trix Tank, and there is a 2-level difference, and that's a big deal because that's level 4 Cataclysm coming out from Dare now.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I guess the next rank in the Ultimate going to be able to turn out a lot of damage. And it looks like TSM is going to go ahead and fall back to the right side, and that's because they don't realize that Cognitive Gaming is taking the Fire Giant, but TSM gets the steal! Trixie comes in with the cavalry charge, and now it's Cog trying to get the buff off of them. I'm not sure if they're going to find any kills, and here comes the Game Hunter.
They have wasted so many ultimates trying to get back at Trix Tank. The baits are real. Kraken hits Andy, and he's down. And now, look at this. 4v5 Cogs on the ropes. They are in so much trouble. Bear is out of here. Omega Stealth and Dare to Care are the only thing standing in between them, TSM, and maybe finally some objective base play.
3,800 gold separates the team in favor of Cog. The rest of the towers on the map represent just about that much gold. Omega goes down to TSM. He thought last time I tried to fight him 1v4, they backed off. Not this time, Fire Giant buff. Uh-oh, is TSM smelling blood? Are they gonna go for the Titan here? I can't imagine that they are, but they look hungry. Moving into the base. TSM gonna try to break the base. Are they calling it off? Oh, yes, they're gonna think better of that one. A little bit too much damage. If that Cataclysm Raw Snipe comes through.
That's exactly how Snipe lost yesterday.
Yes, that is exactly how Cognitive was able to beat them after, but the efficiency in that game was about 3 times what it is here.
Plus there was Phoenix's down. All the towers were gone. It was a very big deal, but TSM 14-21 lead this game. Gold is even. 8,000 experience in the lead. Everyone's actually the same level at this point, but the major difference at this point, there's a Phoenix down and there's a Fire Giant buff online.
You could tell the TSM is really kind of feeling themselves now. Void Shield picked up on the Trix Tank. Going for a hybrid damage-based item on your Guardian at this stage in the game means you are ready to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Though I'm surprised we didn't see potions coming out. The 400 pots. Looking at the gold in hand, we could have seen a few.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Leaving the base without them, electing to go for, keeping up maybe a pot on deck or maybe, both types of wards to kind of go out and gain some more vision around the map. A very, very good way to stay ahead when you are ahead, increase your vision, and really, kind of try to pin down your opponent. But, Cog, if they fight this time, the Cataclysm there to Dare to Care. Looks like they're having a hard time dealing with the rank up banish from Anderster. I mean, that's a big whiff, and this is going to mean likely 2 towers from TSM because they don't have any counter initiation.
They have to be careful here on Cog. They're grouping up. All 5 are ready to try to defend this tower as best they can as Game Hunter continuously pushes down the mid lane. You see Cubo not caring at all about that honey damage, running right through, putting himself back up to full health. That's the gold lead finally for TSM.
Here comes the siege on the Phoenix. Trix Tank tanking it up for now. Game Hunter patiently waiting. Dare to Care blinking in, but you notice no Cataclysm. Omegatron now, and they're going to come in with a Storm Call. Here comes the God Hunter, going deep into the base. MLC Stealth in trouble. Barracuda in trouble. Anderster zoned out of this fight. That's a free Phoenix. Snipe coming out from Stealth, but it's just not enough. Game Hunter heals it right back up, and they head to the mid lane, where Cubo Fred barely going to die to the Barracuda, but Game Hunter going to find a kill of his own.
Bear's got the jukes here, trying to fight Youngbae one-on-one. The honey is not going to apply, and it looks like TSM is going to rotate over towards the right lane to try to finish up their objectives. Better late than never, says TSM, as they finish up the final objective in the game currently. The Phoenix is down. Bear's looking for something.
Here comes MLC Stealth. It looks, he wants to find more kills, but I think his team's calling him off there. Whirlpool going to cut off any path to catch up. Now, your Cognitive Gaming. TSM has just taken the Fire Giant. They've just taken all your towers, all your Phoenixes. You got one more good fight in you, it looks like here. You know, where do they look to take it, and how does that fight go?
Do exactly whatever they did yesterday against Smite.
Just channel that game real quick.
Just hurry. I mean, look at the goal difference right now. It's only 4K, not nearly as bad as it was yesterday. Experience difference, completely nominal. Still 17-17 on the supports, but the 3 Phoenixes are down. Just like yesterday, the entire world is looking at Dare to Care and Barracuda right now to try to reprise that role and turn it around. But I'm sure Team SoloMid saw that game. I'm sure they recognize the fact that they're not going to push their luck. They're going to group up together. They're going to look to end the game properly.
Now Game Hunter going to rotate over here to the right side where Stealth is pushing that lane up and say, no you don't. Push those Firemen right back up to the Phoenix. And it doesn't look like TSM's really ready to kind of turn the screws just yet. They're going to go ahead and regroup, maybe get their wards up, look for an out-of-position god like Anderson here, Trix Tank, hot on his tail, but not going to look to initiate just yet.
So, Fire Giant buff is down. We should be seeing it come up within 30 seconds or so, maybe a little sooner. And you see a big grouping here from TSM. It doesn't look like they want to press their luck here. Trix Tank turned this game around in a heartbeat thanks to the Cavalry Charge stun directly into Wrath of the Gods for the steal.
Oh, Trix Tank's initiated here, but MLC Stealth and Barracuda have a nice angle. Game Hunter going to make his way out. Kraken is there holding MLC in space with that Aegis, but not a tremendous amount of damage yet from the Game Hunter. Doesn't matter because he crits Barracuda. Down he goes. Down goes Omega. In comes Young Bay. Anderson in a lot of trouble now. Takes to the skies. The QM Fred's already found Stealth, and this is looking like a TSM game.
That's 4 down. Only person left is Dare to Care. There's a Phoenix. It's not going to matter. Dare's in trouble. They don't even need to chase him. This is going to be game 1, guys. Give it up as they approach the base. Team SoloMid.
This one was all about that initiation. Trix Tank at the Fire Giant steals it away. They overcome the gold difference, and they find themselves a big win over the #1 seed from North America, Cognitive Gaming.
I think that's the first time I've seen them out of their seats. Super excited. They're shaking hands. Cognitive's probably talking, seeing what went wrong. Maybe a little bit more vision. Maybe a little less Guan Yu jumping in there. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of salt going into game 2. That was theirs.
Well, before we get into game number 2, we do want to hear the expert analysis up at the Alienware analysis desk. Take it away.
Thanks, guys, and welcome back up to the analyst desk. We just watched an amazing game in the winners finals between Team SoloMid and Cognitive Gaming. I'm sitting here with Dry Bear now, Lionheart, and DJ Pernicus. What do you guys think about that? That was incredible.
Man, Trix Tank. I told Trix Tank this week when we were building up for the tournament that he owed me 3 Gold Fury steals and a Fire Giant steal. He got it.
Got him.
He got it. What a wonderful play.
The Fire Giant steal was so huge to the momentum there and the way they were able to turn that around, drive through towers afterwards. And the thing is he gets there just in time, right? I mean, just at the nick of time, far out, moving into the area, gets the stun off, gets the Hand of Gods. Wow. I mean, he delivered on his promise.
He did.
Here's First Blood. We're going to take a look at the Logitech First Blood. It's the Banish, and this is a play that they've been doing for months now. The Freya Banish into the Raw ult, into the Freya ult, and there's just no way to escape that with any actives whatsoever. The range on Freya's ult, the range on Raw's ult, obviously, and the Banish really, which is, you're not going to have beads at that point in the game. It's really hard to just avoid that altogether.
Well, it doesn't even really matter. I mean, there's not an active item in the game that builds you for that. The Banish comes up, the Raw ult hits, and all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, I'm still alive. We saw it with Beside, his movement speed allows him to disengage very easily, but at the same time, Freya goes up into the air and has the distance to clear you if you're escaping. It's really, really important that you recognize the combo potential there, and they've been running this, like you said, for so long.
Yeah, and you wanted to talk about Cuvo Fred's build, or I'm sorry, Omega's build, and we've got that up on the screen. I mean, what did you want to say about that, John?
Well, looking at the start build here, and DJ and I were talking about this during the analysis stage, and while we're watching the game as well, you see Tyr, played by Omega there, has Mystical Mail, of course, Warrior Tabi, went to hide the Urchin, and didn't start building into the damage there with Jotun's and, of course, Titan's Bait afterwards until later in the game. Now, he was very, very durable, but he didn't bring any damage to the table. Now, you still had, Vamana here. I'm sorry, this is... what?
You all right there?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I don't think Omega's on TSM.
No, he's not. He's not. That's why I wanted to bring that up. But anyway, Pern, you were talking about Cuvo Fred, is why I misspoke there. You were talking about the jungle habits, and I want you to elaborate so people know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, jungle routes are something that I think, interests people because, A, a lot of people love the jungle, and B, a lot of people, they feel like it's stagnant. You know, there's only one thing to do, but Cubo Fred's proving that wrong. He's doing something that's not only benefiting him, but benefiting his team. He's leaving the solo lane early in terms of level 1 through 4, giving Game Hunter an additional 2 waves-ish of experience, solo experience. And I think the reason he does that is, A, potential ganks, which you saw him try to make in a gank on the duo lane early. It didn't work out, but it still freed up a lot of farm for Game Hunter later on. And I think they do that because they know Game Hunter is such a strong player that if they can give him 2 waves of free experience, it will likely snowball the solo lane for his team.
Yeah, and you can see that's kind of reflected in the stats here, just comparing the two junglers, Andister and Cubo Fred. And Andister tends to be more involved in those roles, gets himself big, so he can carry the team. You take a look at the stats from the last game, and you'll see that he was topping the player damage charts on his team, just chunking people. So he plays more of that carry role, whereas Cubo Fred, you know, he's setting it up for Game Hunter. And Game Hunter, this tournament, has been an absolute monster at rushing down the enemy team, finding his targets and slaying them where they stand, or more likely flee.
Yeah, he had a really big crit there at the end.
He's definitely been an MVP, and we want to talk a little bit about the objectives. And it seemed like they were controlling them, obviously, especially the Fire Giant steal. I mean, what do you do? I mean, that obviously turned the tide in their favor. What do you do about it?
Well, let's watch here. In-app instant replay. Trickstang coming now. Times is perfect. You see Dedicare look at the Hand of the Gods, but it's at 30%. Pops the ultimate. CC immune, gets the stun off, and Hand of the Gods. That was beautiful. He canceled the cavalry charge just in time to get the stun, and then he gets out. His conviction was fully stacked up, gets the heal on the way, and even went on to stay alive the whole duration. That was literally perfect timing, perfect engagement, and perfect interaction for him. He was able to get in, CC immunity for the engage there, and of course jumping on top for the stun, hog right on top of it, and this just changed everything for them.
And it caused so much chaos too when that was going down. I mean, you see in the back lines, Frail Anderson was still back there. So there was a huge mix-up in terms of where we're supposed to be positioned on Cognitive Gaming after that was stolen. It caused this disarray, and then Anderson gets blown up, everybody has to flee, and they're able to make a push. And again, the key point, I think you talked about, Trickstang making it out of that alive.
He was alive the whole time there. You see his smiling mug on the screen. 81% win for him, 69 kills. You see his kill deaths are actually pretty small, but he is a support with 375 assists and 456 GPM is actually very high for a support player. Win-loss on Sun Wukong is 82% as well. Man, he's such a good support player. Age 16 as well. Just look at this guy.
All hail King Joffrey.
Yes. And I want to talk a little bit after that Fire Giant. We saw a Freya Banish, again, which is a part of their initiation they love to use, except it was on King Joffrey. And what happened was Dedicare ulted, and he missed for one. But I think the more important thing is that ult was down. The Gebel, you know, we've seen it used for CC. Obviously, it does substantial damage because it's a percentage-based ability. And with that being down and wasted on the opposing tank who survived, they were unable to defend their Phoenixes. And we know as players that once you have 3 Phoenixes down, it's almost impossible to come back because you have 2 very hard objectives to defend, right? You don't want to give up the Fire Giant, but you can't give up your Titan either. So they just put themselves in such a bad position by using that Gebel incorrectly and missing as well, which didn't help.
Yeah, of course, there's a Gold Fury that happened. They started it up, and the rotation came out. Youngbei backpedaling and just shooting those finger guns out. Got the triple kill, but they just hung out a little bit too long. We talked a lot about this during the game itself, that it just seemed like TSM was a little bit hesitant in the beginning. Andister was able to clean up, but that Fire Giant steal, and they came together as a team. Wonderful. And
one of the things that they were doing particularly well when they started coming together was using Youngbei he was the rushdown point. He had the most kills at the time. So you see Cognitive Gaming trying to catch him, and he's using everything in the kit to be able to kite them around while Game Hunter's ignored in the back lines, beating people down, and so is the rest of Team SoloMid. And then if they did catch Youngbei, it was too little too late, and the whole fight got turned.
Yeah, and I want to mention that it's important to see that COG had a very good team strategy in this game. It was a close game, and they ended up losing. But at the end of the day, it's a best of 3, and they looked extremely strong in the early and mid game. Instead of being reactionary players, they appeared as if they had a team strategy that they were going to be assertive. They were going to be the ones that were going to go after objectives, go after mid Furies, the Gold Fury rather, and I think that's something that's going to work in their favor in the games to come, and they might actually end up taking this series.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Game 2 coming up next. It's going to be a wonderful match to start. And the fact that it was such a back-and-forth game really bodes well to this next matchup here. You know, we saw TSM pull it back with the objectives. I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that TSM is the team together. COG certainly as well, but they have a lot of individual talent in between, and I really liked how quickly it turned around, especially with the fact, like you said, they were playing for the late game. They want Game Hunter to farm up. We talked about the fact that Tier was just going to be just a stalemate lane. Just slow it down in this whole lane. Don't let Game Hunter get out of control until it just kind of comes to the mid game. But then all of a sudden, Game Hunter did get out of control. We saw one where very low on HP was Barracuda. One single umbrella slam down, about 800, 900 damage in one crit. There's the kill.
Yeah, it was incredible. And speaking of the next game, guys, looks like it is ready. We're going back to the winners finals between TSM and Cognitive Gaming.
Hello, Atlanta. Welcome to game number 2. It's Cognitive Gaming going up against Team SoloMid, down 1 game, 2-0 to the Europeans. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at Cognitive's roster here. They are the #1 seed out of North America, led by Andister out of the jungle, MLC Stealth and mid, Omegatron, your solo laner, Dare to Care as the Guardian, and Barracuda from Atlanta as your hunter.
They are down 1-0 from the first seed. Team SoloMid. Let's take a look at Team SoloMid's roster as well. Give it up out there for TSM. They're leading this right now. One more game is going to secure them a guaranteed second place. Captain Youngbei, Cubo, Fred, Lobster, Trix Tank, and the God Hunter.
The God of Gods. Yeah, you know, you look at Game Hunter and you don't think, that's a guy that's just going to come in and kill all of my friends. And that's exactly what he does. He just walks into your back line and he just wrecks everybody.
What do you think it's like saying, I'm like basically the best player in the world in Smite.
I got a
this
pentakill in tournament play, yeah, no problem.
You know, it's just something.
I'm sure he like texted one friend, and his friend was like, "Oh, cool, man." Yeah. And everyone here is like, "Oh my God, it's Game Hunter. I want to hug him." Yeah, but you know, also Youngbei on that team as well. I mean, a very quiet guy with a very, very big impact on those games.
I mean, like I said before, he kind of him and Omega have had, I think, the biggest impact on the solo lane. Really showing that those bruisers, those warriors are more than capable, whereas we see players like Wolfie and Anatoly kind of aiming more towards the mages, at least up until a little more recently, where Anatoly has gotten a god pool of basically every single god in the game, including like Hades.
I want to take a quick look here, DM, at the TSM team stats. You can see #1 seed out of Europe, winning 77% of their games. Europe, a little bit more of a hotly contested region, a lot more losses in the top teams, but Guan Yu, Zhang Kui, of course, and Sun Wukong. And you can see that Guan Yu pick really coming into effect for them in that last game, of course, not even needing the other 2 of their top 3 picks. Zhang Kui falling off a little bit after some balance adjustments, but, you know,
it dropped.
The balance weight that was dropped onto him. But, you know, they are really a team that is, I think, very strong individual players that, you know, have continued to meld into a stronger and stronger team here. Looks like we are going to be moving into the game in a short moment here for the picks and bans.
This is one stat that I'm always so interested in. Cognitive's win-loss ratio is a staggering 9 out of 10, 90% through the qualifiers.
Yeah, 38 games won out of 42.
And each of those 42 games was a finals game where it was 2 out of 3, and they won the set anyway.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They've only lost games in a best-of-3 throughout the last 8 weeks of qualifiers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live now with the picks and bans. Team SoloMid up 1-0 over Cognitive North America.
Oh my God, Bart.
It's a Nemesis, man.
I can't even believe it.
Yeah, Nemesis, we saw a lot of her on day 1.
Yeah, I think everyone wised up real quick.
Yeah, and they realized that you do not want to deal, and it's the backstabs, I think. It's this, where they kind of wrap around that tier 1 tower, and the mid laners just can't deal with it. She does too much damage, too mobile. Odin, the Allfather, right out of the pool as well.
Which allows Zeus to kind of either get through, not be as damaging, but I still don't think many people want to deal with the God of Gods, the lightning god, Zeus. He has had a pretty standard day today.
Oh, it's going to be the baby band out. Respect band for Game Hunter. Cognitive doesn't have an answer for the Vamana, so they'll take it away, leaving open some notably strong gods. Zeus being one of them, Chalk, of course, as well. And I think if you get both of them together in a game, it's going to be very, very hard to stop.
Imagine if they were on the same team.
Yeah, I think that may be the draft here.
Uh-oh.
Freya banned out. Okay, so we have some bans going either way there. I mean, what's interesting here to see Freya banned out by TSM after they know they're not going to pick Vamana. Freya really one of the best gods at dealing with Vamana, so they just want to keep it out of the hands of Anister, meaning that they don't want it to be first picked, as Kog does indeed have that pick. Locked in, though, is going to be the Zeus for MLC Stealth in the mid lane.
More than likely so. A very dominant god, does a lot of damage, has a lot of control. Was that an auto-lock chop? Auto-lock Wukong!
And snap-lock Wukong, just like that. Team SoloMid knew exactly what they wanted there in that part of the drafting phase.
I kind of knew what they wanted to.
Yeah, it was not a tough call, but two of the most potent bruiser-style gods in the game.
So, option here. Back over to Cognitive Gaming, we see a hover of tier option to Dare to Care as well. It looks like Omega. Actually, this one actually might go to Andy.
Yeah, good. We could see that tier in the jungle. Anister very, very solid on the tier. Really brings that blink initiation style rather than what we saw from Omega, more kind of the tanky frontline presence. Just a couple seconds left for them to lock in their second god. Who is it going to be? It looks like they're going to be picking up an Apollo here. Yeah, that's going to be locked in right away. So Apollo tier coming off the board for Cog.
Well, we saw Youngbay last game do great things, and it's probably a good idea to not let him have it again. Tier picked up. This time not going to have to deal with the baby. He, though, still might have to deal with Poseidon as the option goes back over to Team SoloMid. They still, I guess they maybe need a jungler here. Chalk could be solo. There's the Hunter. We definitely need a mage.
Yeah, two they're going to take a look at here to go up against Zeus in the mid lane, and it's going to be that Poseidon locked right in. Poseidon, a god that his primary attribute is that he's very fast and deals burst damage.
3%.
Pick ban rate of 3%.
3%.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
What is that, the last game?
Yeah, I guess so. And the thing is here is that, Poseidon is fairly well equipped to get out of the Lightning Storm as long as there's not other CC.
So, option back over to Cognitive Gaming. Barracuda and Omegatron are the final people to pick, and looks like we're going to see Habwa. This could be a mid, this could be a jungle, still pretty ambiguous, and Barracuda has option as well. What are we going to see here? Only a few seconds remaining.
Oh, they locked into Habwa. This one's likely going to the solo lane, I would imagine, for Omega. And Guan Yu locked in here now for the dual lanes. That means that we're likely seeing tier in the jungle. I don't think Hebo Habwa, of course, as his name is actually pronounced. You may hear us slip a couple times. It's just way too fun to say Hebo when you're from Atlanta. But, you're likely going to see that tier go to the jungle and the Habwa go to the solo lane. I don't think Habwa a great part of Anister's god pool.
So, Mr. Game Hunter has the choice here. About 15 seconds remain, so we'll know at most. So far, we know they've taken the Guan Yu away. They've opted for Habwa, who we don't see too much. And I'm just very interested to see what he's going to put forth.
Yeah, it looks like, I can hear the audio cues. It looks like it's going to be a Ra there. So that's going to be
basic
likely
pick.
Your solo laner. Very basic pick. Probably putting Chalk into the jungle. And then you'll have Trix Tank and Kiva Frey taking up the Sun Wukong on her dual lane.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have tier in the jungle here. Omega's going to opt for Habwa. He's going to be going he's going to be going up against Game Hunter. So we went from 2 tanky warriors to a burst mage and a healer. So
that's right.
It's pretty. That's a pretty interesting change of pace.
I think it's a very clever pick from Team SoloMid to put that up against the Habwa. Very clearly a pick, I believe, against the Chalk there. Let's deal massive burst damage, very similar to how you see Habwa picked against Vamanas in a similar way. He does fairly well against the bruisers as he's able to kind of kite them and put out more damage than they can properly kind of mitigate. Yeah. But at the end of the day here, this pickup of Ra is going to make it quite tricky for Omega in this lane. Like
you said, I'm looking at this combination of tier. Oh my God, Zeus, Habwa. If you get caught,
that's right.
One piece of CC and you're
lockdown. Lockdown is the name of the game here. And what they bring to the table is the long-range initiations yet again. Barracuda off of the Guan Yu cavalry charge, Apollo crashing in with a knock-up, tier with a fearless chain, and then you have 2 massive burst ultimates.
Yeah, not to mention Bart, if TSM gets caught early, I don't see them coming back into this one.
Yeah, this one, if they get behind, I agree, against Cognitive Gaming with this style of lineup, they won't have the damage to deal with it. And that is going to be one of the kind of main issues with what they've drafted here, is that their damage doesn't come online for quite some time. Shock, not a big damage deal in the early parts of the game. On her does very well in the 1v1, but in a team fight doesn't really start ripping through until he has a lot of crit. Lobster does have a nice amount of damage from the Kraken. This just coming in, ladies and gentlemen. Dignitas has won 2-0 over SK Gaming and will be awaiting the loser of this game tomorrow in the Losers Bracket Finals.
That is incredible. That means 4-0. Dignitas knocks out SK of winners and losers. But Let's talk about that later, Bart, because we're going to focus here on maybe TSM, who are on bracket point. Winning this game will ensure they go to grand finals.
That's right, but before we get into the action, ladies and gentlemen, please allow us to introduce your teams. They are the blue team, fighting out on the bottom side of the minimap and the left side of your spectator UI. Cognitive Gaming North America. Andister in the jungle S tier. Barracuda and Dare to Care combining for the duo lane, Apollo and Guan Yu. MLC Stealth will be your mid laner as the God of God Zeus, and Omegatron in the solo lane as Hubwa.
They're down 1-0 to, wait for it?
Yep.
Team SoloMid! The last European team left in this tournament are fighting right now to win the winner's bracket. We're going to see Cubo Fred back in the jungle as Chalk. Game Hunter, solo lane, switching it up to Mage, playing Raw. We're going to have Young Bae and Trix Tank in the duo lane, playing Mr. On Her, and of course Mr. Sun Wukong, respectively. And finally, Lobster has reprised his role as Poseidon after a fairly dominant performance in Game 1.
Trix Tank takes a lot of damage in the early part of this game to the Barracuda Dare to Care harass, and I think that the Dare to Care Guan Yu Talu Assault shred, plus the accuracy that Barracuda brings to the table in this land situation, could be very, very hard to deal with as Trix Tank and Young Bae. Plus, you have Guan Yu with his heal doing a nice job of dealing with Jingle Bang harass, especially on the minion wave in the early parts of the game.
Though they can stop the Talu Assault, it should be noted.
Yes.
They have multiple ways to do this, but they have to be careful about it. Early game, look at the damage on Trix Tank right now. He's forced out completely, and they have that heal. Barracuda actually dives in, gets a nice shot onto Young Bae, and sends him back towards the base right side. We're seeing some damage put out as well, but neither team really willing to overcommit, or maybe I should just say Cog not really willing to commit to that fight.
That's right, you know, and another thing to look at here in this game, and I think a lot of the dynamic of this game is going to be, can they protect Omega? Can they keep him alive? Can they keep him moving and farming until maybe the 12, 15-minute mark? If you don't see the first death on Hubwa before that point in the game, it's going to be a very good sign for Cognitive Gaming.
Level 3 Crushing Wave. When he gets to level 13, he'll be able to burst even the tankiest characters on this team down. Either way, they're going to need to make sure that Omega stays farmed up. That means rotations a lot from Annister. He's going to need to pay attention to these mages.
It's going to be a slugfest, this one looks like here. A lot of burst damage between the teams, a lot of team fight ultimates. I expect this to get chippy early and often. Taking a look for the first engagement here in about the next 15 seconds at these mid camps. The mid laner is going to be hitting level 5 as they go down. Look for that Kraken to come out and maybe find a kill.
Actually, we might get real close to that. We're going to see both teams with major contention here on the mid camps. Though actually it looks like Lobster is going to give it up and go towards the right side. They will trade this 1-for-1. Mr. Wukong here on the top side. Trix Tank was too late to the party and will not rotate in for the mid camps in time. One going to, one going to Cog and one going to TSM.
Yeah, they were looking for the engagement there if TSM made their way back in the lane. But I want to bring up a point about Zeus. If you recall, the reason that Zeus came back into the competitive scene primarily was his ability to secure those mid-camps. Chain Lightning, incredibly effective against them to take those mid-camps in traffic. So, you know, look for MLC Stealth to have very good control over the mid-camps throughout this game. And, you know, Cognitive should be able to build a small gold lead on the back of that, but as we saw in the last game, that is certainly not everything.
They don't have a gold lead this time, as it is almost directly even. Trix Tank coming in, Lobster keeping him safe with that Whirlpool. Dare to Care is still level 4 here as we see Trix work his way up to level 5, Ultimate Online.
Impressive play here by Omega. No tower damage yet. And in fact, you see archers running into Game Hunter. So Hubwa definitely has a trouble clearing the waves in the early parts of the game, but it's been successful. Over on the left side lane, we have Initiation and Ultimate coming out. Barracuda is going to go down to Young Bae from TSM.
Annister works his way over, but has oomphed himself. This is going to be First Blood. TSM hot on their way to the, I guess, grand finals, Bart, as they make sure they get an early lead against Cog. Now, we saw this happen last game where they get an early lead, but even then, Cog managed to bring it back for most of the game, even have a lead until Trix Tank found a steal on the Fire Giant, but it's a different story this game as we see TSM in the gold and experience leads.
If TSM is able to make it to the finals with a victory here, they will be in a great position. They've already beaten Cog, they've already beaten Dig, and those will be the two final teams remaining in the tournament, as we saw SK get knocked out just a moment ago. And that will be a great position for them. They've already prepared for these teams. They know what they're going to be going up against, and they have good game plans, clearly, to fight them.
Well, they'll also ensure that if they win this, this will be a guaranteed NA versus EU Grand Finals, which is something I think all of us at home kind of dreamed of a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. It's also a nice hefty chunk of change over $100,000 going to the first place victor here. So I'm sure that the boys from TSM would love to go back across the pond with a $20,000 to their name.
$50,000 set basically is grand finals. Both of these teams are trying to work towards that because, I mean, the idea of guaranteeing yourself second place puts a huge weight off of your shoulders. Right now, I mean, there's so much pressure and so much contention, given the fact that the loser of this has to fight Team Dignitas, and I'm sure neither of them want to do that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Dignitas has been playing lights out this tournament. They did fall to TSM earlier in the tournament, but I do think that that they have a very good shot at, you know, really putting up a contest for either of these teams and have a good shot at winning the whole thing if they are able to get through that losers bracket finals.
So check out this jungle, Bart. Almost every single camp on the map is gone, except for the top left small camp and the Gold Fury. The rest of the jungle is just picked bare. Looks like people are starting to opt to go back and spend some gold. Omega's in a pretty strange spot here as they're maybe looking to dive the tower. Here comes the rotation. Stormcall, he's silenced. Kraken isn't even going to hit Bart because Game Hunter with his snipes ready to take that kill, put that gold in his pocket.
And this is the criticism that most analysts and other players will have about Omega. He plays so risky. No ward in the jungle there to spot that rotation. He sees the over-aggression coming out from Game Hunter and even Cubo Fred rotating in, and he decides to try to man up and fight and gets completely abused by Poseidon's release the Kraken.
I'm looking at this tower. What can Andy do? He's going to heal up here, but he's in blue stance for the next 13 seconds. Doesn't really have a lot to keep pushing them out. That tower has taken a lot of damage. Really the first tower to take any, and it's already sitting at about 20, maybe 25%.
Yeah, something that's very, I think, unique about Smite is the amount of damage you can do to a tower with a single minion wave. So, you know, every kind of wave they push into the tower becomes more and more important as you try to keep that standing.
Definitely. Absolutely. Here come the big camps again. And I think we're going to see our first real fight here at them, but nope. Actually, it looks like Trixtank's just going to hang out in mid lane. He actually might lose contention of both of these as we see left side going to Dare to Care. He's trying even not to use Hand of the Gods. He might be forced into it because here comes Poseidon. No, he does manage to get it. Right side has respawn. Blink in. It looks like that one went to... I didn't see it.
We are looking at both camps going the way of Cognitive Gaming, it looks like there, based on the graphs. So they're able to secure both of those mid camps here at that 6.5-minute respawn, approaching 7 minutes elapsed in the game. If you are just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, 1-0 in favor of Team SoloMid, and they are on bracket point. Winning this game sends them into the grand finals and sends Cognitive down to fight Team Dignitas in the losers bracket finals.
So right now, taking a look at the levels, we see 3 level 8s over on the COG side, whereas we see only 1 level 8 coming out from TSM, and we also see the highest level in the game of Game Hunter, level 10 currently, and highest farm at 4,400 gold. And this is on a character that's extremely difficult to kill. He's lightning fast, has incredible burst damage, he has healing, he can blind you, he can bait for a very long time. And on a player like Game Hunter, it's formidable.
Yeah, we'll see how effective he is able to be. You know, traditionally he has been the kind of late game go-to for this team. We'll see how they deal with, you know, having Ra as kind of their solo lane, the one that they're dumping the most farm into, if they can adapt to that style of strategy. You know, another thing to point out here is the kills that have been picked up by TSM are on Omega and Barracuda. Really, two players that if you're going to pick 2 players to get early kills on, those would be they.
Oh, the Kraken's already down. The snipe's down. Cubo Fred finds a kill. Andy very low right now. The beam almost hitting him in the back.
Trixtank's going to find Anderster here. Jingle Bang. Where's Catform? There's the sun coming out. Cubo Fred coming in. Jams it in. Down goes Anderster.
A Torrent just doing that damage necessary. Cubo's going to find himself a kill as well. And now the mid tower's in so much trouble. And this is not something they want here. The right side tower is already super low, and Trixtank forced to the open. Dare to Care just took the Thunderstrike, about 300 damage. Rapid fire for his trouble trying to defend this tower, which has taken about 75% as well.
Yeah, it's, you know, the danger here is that they really need Omega in these fights. They need that damage. They need that burst. They're having a hard time taking any kind of sustained engagement. They're having a hard time stalling out the lanes is Cognitive, and they need to make something happen. This is looking like the earlier games where North America was pinning EU down to the towers and keeping them locked in. Very reminiscent of that, but this time it's Team SoloMid from Europe holding down the #1 seed from North America, Cognitive Gaming.
I'm really impressed to see them change up their strategy so much. Almost each lane is doing something different. Aside of Lobster, you know, he kind of reprised his role as Poseidon, but there's more objective pressure, there's more wards around the map than we saw in the last game, and they've been really smart about their rotations. At this point in the game, COG was really far ahead, and at this point, with no objectives down, they have a 1,600 gold lead thanks to those 4 kills that they've earned throughout the game so far.
Yeah, you know, another thing here that is not great for COG is that we haven't called Anister's name yet for a big play. And he has that blink up on tier, has the Fearless Chain, of course, to bring to the table, but has not been able to find a good target. And a lot of that thanks to the feeds up on Game Hunter, Youngbay, and Lobster, all very effective at dealing with them.
Oh, Storm call to stop the Lawbringer. Gonna send him home. Mid lane!
MLC Stell. This guy has a good option here for Lobster. That Chain Lightning bouncing back. Doesn't want to take too much damage. Going to detonate here. Oh, it's enough. But Barracuda's on his way in anyway. Can they transition this into a push, DM?
They should right here. COG pushing this down could do a lot of damage, but Barracuda sees option elsewhere as he backs off. Not really sure what he's looking for. Maybe he's going to go over and defend the left lane to ensure that this isn't a 1-for-1 tower trade. In fact, it's going to be, it looks like 0-0 for towers, because Youngbay is probably going to get pushed back here, and the rest of COG has been sent away from mid lane thanks to Trixtank.
COG looking for the deep angle there onto Youngbay, but they're going to be caught out by Trixtank at least for the moment. But here comes Dare to Care. He needs to lock down the on-air. It's going to force out the leap, but not going to try to follow that up with the ultimate. It was available there, but they don't think they can convert that kill. Oh, and the back of that fight, though. TSM finds Anister, and they take him down easily in the jungle.
I bet he's not happy with that one.
I can't imagine he's pleased.
I thought he was out. It almost looked like he was out. 53 damage, a swing, gonna go down. Trixtank disappears to the detonate. A kill that we've seen a lot happen over the past couple minutes. The beam's gonna hit there. The Searing Pain ultimate coming out from Ra, but it's not really enough to deter the God of Gods. Overall, the lead has been kind of stagnated at 2,500 gold, still in the hands of Team SoloMid.
You know, so far in this tournament, we haven't really seen the dominant Zeus play, where he is just wrecking everybody on the map. MLC Stealth, however, has found some great picks. Barracuda finds a solo kill onto Youngbay there. What play?
Sometimes you got to go for the boxing match, and he found it. This is the Barracuda I think everyone expected to show up in Game 1. Look for those solo kills, burn down people. He stacked up the Audacity properly, found Youngbay out of position, bursted him down.
Interestingly enough here, Youngbay going to be going for the early crit, whereas Barracuda will be picking up likely that Aussie or the rank 2 Draining Blade here. So you could see on her really have an opportunity to put some damage into Barracuda's Apollo here shortly.
So we have a grouping here in mid lane, Bart. We see Stealth, we see Andy, we see Dare to Care. They're going to push the lane. Now Lobster rotates in. He sees this and he begins to back off through the back of the tower. Poseidon has amazing wave clear. Whirlpool Trident or Whirlpool Tidal Surge. Either way clears the wave lightning fast. You can see it right there. He actually used all 3 to ensure they couldn't push that down. It's going to work out for him.
You are just joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We are 12 minutes into the game here, game number 2 in the winners bracket finals. It's Team SoloMid up 1 game over Cognitive Gaming. They have a 2,200 gold lead, a 2,600 experience lead, and we are 12.5 minutes into this one. TSM is controlling this game so far.
That they are, Bart.
Oh, there it is.
Look, they're coming in. The cavalry charge is good here. He's trying to find something, chasing Poseidon all the way to the tower, missing the stun as the storm call goes through. 4 members of Cognitive will be pushed back there, but thanks to heals, I don't think they're going to be deterred. Everyone's kind of rotating near the Gold Fury. You see, actually, where is Mr. Barracuda going?
He was pushed up really far in that left side lane. He actually drew both Trixtank and Youngbay to come defend, popped the ultimate, and headed back. Considered initiating into the mid lane there, but couldn't find a reasonable target.
Mid-camp on left side, going to be respawning, and it looks like it's going to go the way of Cognitive Gaming, so they wish to pick it up. It looks like MLC is going to spot it out. Chain Lightning, a few shots, going to bounce off a Trixtank.
He snipes 1.
He did snipe 1, didn't he?
Yeah, he picks up 1 with the Jingle Bang there. I know because of the electricity depth. And it looks like TSM is going to take the right side as well. So a 3 out of 4 of those mid-gold camps going to Game Hunter and TSM. And, you know, we haven't really said too much about Game Hunter's Rob, but as per usual, late game build.
Almost every game, I think we're seeing this. Almost every single game from him.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the Warlock stash being picked up. That is an item that does stack up HP and magical power as it continues to build stacks, and it needs quite a few of them, and it is quite an expensive item, so it takes a long time to come together. And look at this also, Game Hunter's going to pick up a Blink.
Like last game, we saw him not pick up Fatalis until super late into the game, and that's usually a core item. Some people even build it first instead of going for the boots on Vamana.
I wonder if we'll see double stack for Game Hunter here. He could be very likely transitioning into a Doom Orb. He doesn't have a lot of gold in hand, so we won't find out soon, but given his play style, it would certainly be a strong choice.
Did he steal that? No, he did not. He attempted to steal it with the Searing Pain over the wall, of course, talking about the red buff, which you can find on Andenster, rotating through the jungle towards mid lane. Both teams seem very nervous at this point in the game. At this point, usually Barracuda would have dived the tower at least 3 times.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate a point that we brought up in kind of earlier segments of this broadcast, which is that the tier Fearless chain that has such a long CC duration has been, kind of mitigated by this low latency environment.
Yeah.
And obviously 0 latency. You can beads on reaction to that ability now, and you actually get out of it quite a bit quicker than you can on an online environment. So this pick is not as dominant as normally we would see. Left side lane, we're going to have an initiation onto Barracuda. Going to mez out Q-Vo Fred and now try to run away. Dare to Care looking to peel, but hard to get
like the chase.
where he wants him.
I don't like the chase.
And Q-Vo Fred could get turned around on here, but Trickstank is rotated in. Stun misses, and this should be a clean disengage. As Anderson finds that Fearless chain, going to get stunned out, and now it's Cognitive falling back, DM.
Oh, look at this. Hobble's going to find 2. Kraken's not going to do enough damage to kill. The snipe will do. Game Hunter with the Searing Pain to the back. Omega gets found wanting and will be sent back to the base to wait respawn.
And Kog is now in a very difficult position. They need to defend their left side and their mid tower. Mid tower already sitting at just under half. Apollo comes over there to try to hold them back. Q-Vo Fred channeling the damage into that tower. Down it will fall in the left side lane. Now over to mid, where Barracuda is trying to hold off both Game Hunter and Lobster. Finds a decent mez, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough as he continues to take those Searing Pains and Celestial Beams from Ra.
I don't like this call here. They're going for the Gold Fury, and I don't know if they're going to have enough damage to really get this done as fast as possible. It's already been spotted out. Dare to Care, though, cannot get inside. It looks like TM's going to take it for free. Gold Fury is down.
No ultimate available there by Dare to Care, but a nice juke on that
Apollo.
snipe. The beam hits, though. In comes Barracuda. He wants blood. Can he find Game Hunter? Lobster is there, and I think now that he notices that, he's going to try to fall back, letting that Mez go the full duration. No, it's because Anderson's coming over the wall with a blink. Game Hunter in a lot of trouble. Lawbringer, crit, down goes Game Hunter.
That is the teamwork I'm talking about. The mesmerize to let Andy get in position. Even with beads there, it wasn't enough to get him out. That was Game Hunter they picked up there. That was no ordinary Smite player. Oh no. Barracuda.
Well, they initiate into the lightning storm. They're finding a lot of damage with stealth, but I'm not sure he sees Bay behind him. Knocked into the tower. Damage cover Trickstank. Desert Fury channeled. Aegis activated. And it looks like he's going to escape for the moment. Whirlpool a little bit off the mark there by Lobster. Unable to secure another kill. But that has a very back and forth couple of minutes there. It does look like, however, that you can call TSM out ahead on that with that Gold Fury plus some very important picks on the Barracuda.
Right now they're 4,300 experience, or rather 4,500 experience now, and 4,200 gold in the lead. But this is where we saw Cog last game. Cog actually managed to drop that because of a Fire Giant steal, so definitely don't count Cog out just yet. It's still early into the game, 17 minutes. There's still a lot of Smite left to be played.
2 deaths, no kills, no assists on Omega's Hubwa. This pick is not working out for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they were in the picks and bans.
They picked it to counter Chalk in the solo.
Yeah.
It had to be.
Maybe. But Raw was still open. They maybe switched their pick to Raw. And now they're not really having much trouble at all as Game Hunter is just handling it. He's being able to heal the wave. He's healing up the damage given out by the water cannon. And he has the burst enough to really send it back. Also, you were almost correct. You called Doom Orb. He actually did go for stacking. It looks like he's going to be going into Urchin.
Yeah, I saw that as well. He's going to go for that height of the Urchin. But I do want to point out actually another height of the Urchin as maybe the more important pick of Q-Vo Fred sitting on the rank 2 height of the Urchin. And this is where you really see that about 2,000 gold difference between him and Anderson really playing out. Hold that thought of stealth is getting dunked on in the mid lane. Down he will go. Q-Vo Fred's silence has been big this game. That Chalk pick has looked as strong as people consider it this game. Certainly Lobster's going to need a Fearless Shade.
Oh, the knockups!
Crushing wave, but not enough. Here comes Barracuda. He's juked by Lobster. Not going to find the damage. Now forced to retreat as Young Base rotating in. The snipe by Game Hunter. Can he miss?
Game Hunter jumping over the wall here. Young Bay's not done.
Lobster.
Desert Fury.
Lobster jukes all of the damage from Barracuda, gets out of there, jukes the ultimate, jukes is so beautiful through the wall, and about 5 auto attacks to boot. Barracuda, we may see Cog on tilt a little bit here.
What is with players' names starting with L, just not dying when they're supposed to die? I actually came up to last before. I wasn't even hyped that you got out of that. I knew you do it. It's just you're getting obnoxious now. Lobster joining that fray. Andenster, though, he's going to be forced out of this fight very, very early. Team SoloMid going for the Fire Giant. It's within rank. They got it.
Wow, Cognitive actually concedes that, knowing that they would have just gotten wiped. Only Barracuda and Anister at about half health there, so they're going to go ahead and give that up to TSM. They still have a lot of towers remaining, which means a lot of potential gold that TSM's going to take on this next push.
This is a big turning point right now, because in the last game, this is where Cog lost the Fire Giant after being in the lead. This time, TSM took the Fire Giant again, but they're already massively in the lead. 7K right now separates the two teams. There's no tier 1 towers up, so they can pick their lane whichever they want to push. They can go mid, they can go left. Usually you're going to see one of those two. They don't want to push on the side of the Fire Giant until it's necessary. They want to try to separate as much as possible. But TSM, have they lost a game yet?
No.
I don't think they've lost a game yet.
Dignitas. They have not lost a game yet. One thing I do want to get in here quickly is the goal disparity between Cubofred and Anister. This is what I was getting at earlier when we were talking about the height of the Urchin, is that you'll notice that Cubofred has his finish and Anister still just sitting on the Jotun's Wrath. And the difference between the kind of the tanky bruiser that has an additional defensive item versus the one that's just sitting on the hybrid damage item is enormous. And you've seen Cubofred really kind of abuse that and stay in those front lines.
4 levels.
That's right, yeah.
It's 18 to 14. That's an amazing amount of passive scaling just from leveling up. It's super, super dangerous for them right now. Andy cannot put himself into the front line at all unless it is a one-on-one, maybe one-on-2 match if he can land the Fearless. But they have 3 sets of beads on TSM right now, and they don't look too afraid.
Cubofred rotating around the backside. It is spotted out by Cog by a ward here. Now diving into the tower. Omega gonna fist of the gods and then try to rotate out. But Omega in a lot of trouble. That silence just crushes Hebo. Down he goes to the Kraken. And now the fight is on.
They're going to push forward. Dare to Care is going to get some damage off. Actually, Stealth can get something done here, but he detonated too early. Didn't get enough damage where he wanted it. The tower goes down. They didn't lose anyone on TSM. And you can see them still barreling down the lane here. Stealth misses his opportunity here to get something done. Desert Fury almost completely ages as TSM continues to fight.
Oh, this is bad. Down goes Stealth. They don't have Omega either, or Dare to Care. No front line, no burst damage. How are they going to hold TSM out of the base? Barracuda? Oh, Barracuda wants to make plays, and he goes.
He's taking damage. Oh, and the beam. He's going to lose about half his health. Didn't quite find the target he was looking for. And another point of contention will be removed from this map as TSM takes another Tier 2 tower.
They're going to go ahead and wipe the final Tier 2 off the map in this left side. Gold Fury is available, but something tells me they're probably not going to be looking for that. And if they do, it's simply going to be on their way back to the base, as it is time for TSM to look to break into Cognitive's Titan, take this down, and potentially move on into the grand finals.
In hand gold right now. They are very close to pushing 11,000 gold total, and they're going to try to increase that closer to almost 13 as they're going to take this Gold Fury straight away to ensure that Cog has no chance to steal away anything.
Over 2,000 gold in pocket on every member of TSM. Items are going to start coming out by the droves.
Trix just bought a hide of the Urchin. He just bought an entire hide of the Urchin. The entire thing.
3,000 gold on Lobster. Radha Foodie going to be online very shortly. Already has rank 1. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be an Obsidian Shard coming out for Game Hunter. The balanced blade for Cubofred likely to be built into the chin size very shortly as well. So big time late game items online for Team SoloMid. Cognitive still struggling to finish their core.
Right now, Lobster is almost doubling any other mage in the game right now in magical power. And it's on Poseidon, one of the highest burst damage characters in the game.
That's right. And you know what? What it may come down to here is not even his burst. The trident damage is going to be outrageous versus these guys that don't have the levels or the items to get sufficient magical protection against it.
Not to mention he has Void Stone, which means he can put himself in the back line. He can stay safe, and he's lightning fast. He has a passive that increases his movement speed, and he can activate Trident to move even faster.
It's all going to start with Trixtank, though. He has to find the initiation to free up Lobster to close the distance. Game Hunter also with long-range initiation there on the raw snipe. And he's not any kind of slouch at all himself. Height of the Urchin plus a Warlock. That's very, very tanky raw. Dare to Care now trying to stay in the front line. Kraken's going to come out, mostly the zone. They want to just burn down this Phoenix without too much engagement, and down it goes. Lightning Storm used by MLC Stealth there. Maybe a bit of a mistake, because they're going to try to disengage now with TSM, but rallying back in. Trixtank, Cubofred in the front line. See him. Crushing Wave going through, not finding a lot of damage. Young Bay reinitiating, finds the sun on Anister, and the Fire Rage is on.
The Game Hunter finding 2 people with the snipe. Check it out into the fountain! Oh my God, 2 members down for only 1 of TSM. and they're able to continue pushing forward. Omega's up, Bear is up, Andy's up, but I don't even know with those 3 high-damaging characters that they have the damage to push it. Now, Barracuda does find a Mesmerize, and it's so beautiful, but I think he's pushing his luck here.
Though Cog holds 4 now, they do use, every ultimate was used in that engagement. No ultimates on the board now. Anister, Omega, Barracuda alive. Game Hunter, Cuba, Red Young, Lobster up for TSM. There's also someone else that's joined the battle.
Tell me all about him, Bart.
Oh, well, he's handsome, tall, strong, likes fire.
Me?
No, it's actually the Fire Giant here. And,
you
and you
said
can see
tall.
that the team, yeah, tall, yeah, sorry about that, buddy. But you see here, the Fire Giant is available, and this has got to be where the next fight is coming.
I mean, absolutely. That you do have to consider the fact that right now Cog has to play their Space Invaders as the Fire Nation burns their way down the lanes. These teams have to be very careful here. Oh, what was that snipe? Is he trying to steal away the red buff again?
Yeah, listen, he fears no man. He is the God Hunter.
Seriously. All right, so check out my man Dare to Care getting spotted out over in the right side. He's trying to form up some contention here. He can still steal it away, and it's kind of necessary. But look at them. I love this. Cog has pushed the waves up at least to the halfway point to ensure that these fire minions won't be a problem for at least the next minute or so, which will allow them to contend with FG.
That's right, yeah, here comes the Fire Giant initiation, though. Moving into the Valley of the Fire is TSM Cognitive. Looking for the initiation now. The bait is real. Down will go Megatron to the Kraken. The fight rages on. Here comes the chase from TSM. Lobster forced out of the fight by Barracuda nicely. Stealth actually finds kill to Youngmay there. This is a good fight so far from Cog, but now they're being forced out by Trick Tank. Uh-oh, Stealth. And, this time by Game Hunter there, but they still are going to be able to clean that up onto Zeus. And now it's 2 down, 4-1. Cuba Friend is in trouble as Dare to Care comes in spinning.
Oh, Dare to Care.
Gone down for the Taolu Assault. Barracuda takes the beam. Lobster now with the damage. Knock up. The
Barracuda!
He's going to stand his ground. He's going to look for the fight.
Barracuda! This is the man we have been talking about, but blinking behind him. Game Hunter's not quick enough to try to find it. I can't believe he's still alive. Right, Phoenix has respawned, but there's no contention.
Ultimate. There's the ultimate's up.
There's, close, no cigar, except for the cigars that may have been lighted by the fire minions, which did kill the Phoenix on the right side. This is a bad spot for Cog. They're forced to go back to the base, heal up, ensure the Minotaur doesn't take too much damage, or rather, the Titan.
That's right. I think the Game Hunter probably would have taken that snipe back onto the red buff steal. Would have been very, very useful in that last engagement. But, I mean, there you saw still that MLC Stealth is still very potent on the Zeus. A lot of burst damage they can bring to the table. In fact, TSM gives up quite a bit to get those kills. 3 do go down.
So, looks like Cog here. Actually, Andy, not a lot of mana right now. And you can see Barracuda trying to join him. Let's take a look at TSM. We see Youngmay working his way towards the Fire Giant. We see Game Hunter actually at the red buff. And the rest of TSM coming down mid lane with heavenly agility.
Goodness, Youngmay spotted them out here at the Fire Giant. Cognitive Gaming. They're going to try to sneak this. Still a ways off.
I think they got it, Bart.
I think they're going to pick it up. Cognitive Gaming with a Fire Giant steal.
It's never over. It's never over. This is currently in their favor for team fights. But you should note they still have to be on the defensive. If they push too far, the Fire Minions by themselves could end this game. So they still are going to have to play defensive. With this time, we see a Phoenix respawn here in the middle, Bart.
In this next team fight, it's all Barracuda. Fire Giant buff providing the actual physical power, the extra sustain for him. He has the damage items for his team. It's going to be all about how much damage the Apollo can do. Can he carry Cognitive through this sticky situation here and get the Phoenixes back up? It's really what it comes down to. They're going to concede a Gold Fury here to Team SoloMid. No reason to contest that. Gold becoming less and less relevant here as the players are getting more and more items and more levels.
13,000, those still separate. That's going to give them about a little more damage than we're going to see that the Fire Giant gives to Cog. So there's not going to be a major difference. The real difference here in the levels. MLC Stealth still not level 20 after 28 minutes of play. Andenster level 17. 2 levels behind Trix Tank the support, who's also 3 levels ahead of Dare to Care on Guan Yu.
Looks like it's going to be at least an attempt at a split push here from Barracuda on the right side. Cubo Fred rotating to the mid lane here, not going to go try to stop it. Throwing out the axe, spotted out by Dare to Care. And it looks like, spotted out by the sword here on the rotation is Lobster, but Yeah,
oh, Barra's back.
Barra gonna back, yeah. So they're actually not gonna look to push that too much. They want to just clear their waves out, make some room for that Phoenix to respawn. Once it's up, then perhaps they look to push out of their base in a meaningful way.
So do you think the plan here is use the Fire Giant buff to get the Phoenixes back up to full health and then recontend the Fire Giant buff to try to go for the push?
It looks like they don't want to take a fight until they have all 3 Phoenixes. But now they're kind of grouping in the mid lane here is Cognitive, and it looks like they want to try to take the fight to TSM, but taking it underneath the enemy tier 1 tower, yeah, it's just going to be too rich for their blood. They're going to fall back. They can't risk it.
Well, I mean, at this point, the risk versus reward really isn't in any team's favor. If TSM jumps in and loses, Cog can push enough down to maybe even get inside the Titan's room. The lair? The lair?
The lair of the Titan?
Lair of the Titan.
To it, I think.
It's coined. It's mine. 10 cents every time you use it. I'll be watching.
Is that a pun?
No.
10 cents?
Oh,
yeah,
10 cents.
All right, but back to the game
fun.
here, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's this kind of, it's a stall tactic, I think, from Cog. It's really, really a lot of composure here. I mean, that's an unbelievable call from them to say, look, we have the most potent buff in the game on all 5 of our members, and we're going to stall.
It's probably the best call, really. 30 minutes, what do you have to lose at this point? They don't have a single tier 1 down. We really haven't seen them even contend Gold Furies. This Fire Giant is their real first push into this game.
Yeah, it seems like they're playing as pressure mid, make room for Barracuda, find a tower on a split push, play a little rat, and see if they can spread the map out and get some gold off of this board in their favor. Right Phoenix back up, right tier 1 down, and Cognitive, a ray of hope.
This is the final Fire Minion wave right here. Barra has taken the tower. Barra has burned down that wave. But how much time do we have left on this Fire Giant buff? Not really enough to contend, and they want to make sure this Phoenix gets back up to full health.
There's the blink
maybe I'm
from
wrong.
Andy. He's going to find Youngbei. That's going to force the beads out, which means Dare to Care can wreck this back line as that Honor cannot stay too aggressive. That's a big Kraken coming out, only hitting 1. MLC Stealth in some trouble now. Shot comes ripping through. Double kill for Cubo Fred. Damage out is online. Dare to Care. Dare to die. Only 2 members remaining for Cognitive Gaming DM and TSM. The minute that Cog overextends, punishes them heartily for it.
If there was one person you'd want up to defend this base, it would absolutely be Barracuda, who works his way towards the now debuffed Phoenix, which is going down very quickly. They're going to work their way over on TSM to the right Phoenix to take this back down. They're not letting this one go just yet. We still have about 20 seconds before we're even going to see Dare. Almost 25 seconds now until we see MLC Stealth or Omega. Will they push for the 3rd Phoenix? Will they wait for the Fire Giant? It looks like they're going right to left lane.
Phoenix going to be dropping quickly, not very easy to contest it. Anderson finds a Fearless Chain on a Cubo Fred, but Barracuda's going to need to do a lot of damage. Just hit by that snipe. Great timing there by Game Hunter. Down he's going to fall to Cubo Fred. Try to damage race him. Man fight time, not going the way of Barracuda. You can't stop the Rain God.
Oh, check out the just Venn diagram of damage on the ground here. Dare to Care is going to take about 40% of his health. MLC is going to take a big chunk as well from the Thunder Strike, as we see TSM kind of spreading out and regrouping in the jungle on the left side. Not really sure what they're looking for at this point. But we do know. What's up, Art?
The patience of TSM here.
Oh, my God.
Not to try to push in.
I am killing the Minotaur or Titan or whatever you want to call it in my head right now.
Maybe they want to be 6-slotted before they push into the base. Well, I mean, this is a very important game. If they win it, they go into the best of 5 grand finals with a game advantage, and they go up against 2 NA teams that they already have faced. So winning this game, it's understandable for them to take it, a little bit cautiously. Don't make any risks. Don't take any risks, rather, and look for the fight.
We see some pings coming out. I see Trixtank trying to work his way over towards, Bird's going to come out as well. He's trying to get there as fast as possible. Both teams kind of staring each other down at this point. Right near FG. What are going to do?
Oh, you know the Fire Giant. You know this is where the next fight is coming. As Cog has to continually rotate back and clear out the waves to make sure that they don't get pushed too hard, TSM has the opportunity to move into the Fire Giant pit. Dare to Care now pinging it out, telling his team that they are initiating. It looks to be a bit of a bait, though. There's Suzuki coming out. Too late is Dare to Care. Fire Giant does go down. TSM looking for the fight. Barracuda riding through the skies above. He's going to come crashing down any moment now, running out of mana. There he comes down. It's on the Cubo Fred, though. It was trying to save MLC Stealth, but he and Omega have already fallen. Dare to Care getting chunked by Youngbei. Look at the damage on Honor. Double kill for Youngbei. Down will fall Barracuda. Ladies and gentlemen, TSM.
This is going to be it. There's only one person left trying to fight 5. It's the deicide. Winner's bracket is over, guys. Give it up, Team SoloMid.
Wow. Wow, what a performance there by TSM. They take it 2-0 over the top 2 teams in North America in back-to-back days. The TSM chants going out in the crowd and with just cause.
I want to point out real quick that TSM, Team SoloMid, is now guaranteed 50% of a prize pool worth over $200,000.
They have a pretty nice payday coming their way, but they do still have to go through the winner of the Dignitas versus Cognitive Gaming
That's
game.
right.
And that's going to be tomorrow morning, in fact, the Losers Bracket Finals.
That's right. So right now we're going to head up to Trendkill and the boys at the Alienware Analyst Desk to give you a better in-depth look at what just happened. Stick around.
Thanks, gentlemen. Are we live? No. Yes? There we go. Thanks, gentlemen. And you now have the first team in the grand finals, Team SoloMid. Everybody give them a hand. What a great game. I'm sitting here with Drybear, Lionheart, and DJ Pernicus, and we're going to go over this. What happened? They were so dominant.
You know, I think we have to give credit for early game to Cubo Fred. That kind of pressure we talked about it, man. That kind of pressure every single time Stormcall was up. Cubo got a kill. We saw left lane jumping in on Barracuda. The silence came through, got the kill. Right lane went over, got a kill as well. Mid lane got a kill. He just kept going around. Cubo's early presence with Chalk was absolutely amazing. And we're going to go ahead and check out First Blood to see exactly what went down. Cubo so very powerful. You'll see it on the screen. Logitech First Blood coming through here. Young Bay, you know, doing some presence here. There goes the Thunder Strike. There goes the Stormcall. Silence in the middle of the dash. Desert Fairy coming through, and there goes the kill. Barracuda going down, and that's at the pace for everything else.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0-2 was the early score on Chalk. And as you said, every single time the ultimate was involved. Going into the lane, silence, playing a huge part. And that silence was key also in team fights that we saw later on. I mean, I don't think I can recall seeing Omega be able to use his ultimate without getting blown up by the silence cracking combination. I mean, it was unbelievable. He went from full to none, just like that.
Yeah. And Pern, you had a problem with some of the picks, and I want you to elaborate on why you had that issue. I mean,
we'll look at the scoreboard right now, and you can see the picks obviously firsthand. The meta that that TSM appeared to use is basically a result of recent patches, right? They had Chalk, they had Poseidon, and they had Ra. These are all characters that have been heavily prioritized in the last 2 weeks. On the other hand, we had Cog, and Cog picked Hebo. They picked Zeus, and they picked Tyr. Now, these were all considered, you know, very, very top priority picks in the months leading up to the 100K, in the road to the 100K, where Cog was so successful. I think it's a matter of, like I said in the first cast, was adapting, right? Cog has not been able to adapt to recent changes in Smite, and we have seen that it reflected in the scores of their games. You know, they lost 3 weeks heading into this event. Are they a great team? Absolutely. Are they going to recover? Are they going to, you know, expand their god pool to more modern characters? Absolutely. Their team strategy is great, but they're just a little bit behind in their picks, I feel like.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. We talked about their Freya-Ra combination in the early stages. They've been leaning on that for quite some time. It seems like they've kind of gotten in their own little rut where they know what works for them and they do it over and over, and all of a sudden the teams that have been preparing for weeks and just spending all their nights in their hotel studying and preparing new strategies have come out on top. And, you know, when you see Chalk, Poseidon, like you were mentioning, the new characters now coming into the meta in the last few weeks or so, Cog's just not really picking those up. Now, they definitely have a very big presence here, but, you know, it seems like a lot of their games they've been playing over the last 2 days, they've been comebacks and not actual complete victories.
Right. And I think it's important to mention that we've seen a transition in the Bruisers, right? Like I said, we used to see Tyr so heavily prioritized. He still is, but we really like the Vamana. We really like the Chalk. We see auto-attack-based Bruisers making a huge presence in the late game. And TSM is a perfect example of this. Do they win right away? Absolutely not. You know, sometimes they fall behind. But later on, it's almost impossible to deal with the Vamana, with the Chinzais, the Chalk. He also got Chinzais in this game. The auto-attack-based Bruisers are very difficult to deal with, and this tournament is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that we've seen particularly of Team SoloMid and kind of their play style is that they are always about the late game. If they get ahead in the early game, that's great, but their late game is monstrous. They take their time and they pick up items and builds that shine in the late game. So a Warlock Sash on Ra, for example, something that's going to give him a more tanky presence and still the magical damage as the game goes on. So they're always thinking about the later on picture, and it's particularly good when you get something like that here when you're already ahead, because then it just snowballs you even farther.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about that is the players that they have on TSM feed into their strategy, right? We know Game Hunter, especially when he plays Vamana, he plays for late game. He says, I'm going to farm, 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 farm. And it's the same thing for other players that like Vamana. You sit and you farm until about mid or late game when you have your core items, a little bit of movement speed, maybe one of each protection item, and then some damage and attack speed on top of that. Then you start killing everybody. That's exactly what we see. At the same time, they have a great segue for that. Trix Tank. He's all over the map. He pressures the mid, the solo. He's stealing mid camps. He's on top of the objective. The vision is there. He's probably one of the most mobile supports we see in the meta right now, and that allows them to segue into the later stage of the game where they're so strong.
Absolutely, and I want to ask a question that we keep going back to, and we've gone back to multiple times, but we're in a LAN environment. How do you think that affected this game, Dry?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a really big difference here. And, you know, COG has LAN experience. Omega, probably the most experienced individual we have, going to tons of LAN events. But, you know, I think a lot of people have been used to the latency between abilities. The biggest thing, like you're mentioning, Tyr, not really favored as much. And the biggest thing is, of course, Tyr's fearless in assault stance. It's a grab. It's considered a grab. And then it's a knock-up. But the thing is, because of the low latency, you can beads like that. And you see it, you don't see it all that much in tournaments, but today in a LAN, the second Tyr grabs someone, or even before they even do it, because of the latency, most of these top tier worldwide players, they are not swayed by Tyr at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you talked about, you know, Omega just a moment ago, too, with having the most LAN experience. And I think the timing maybe even threw him off, because a lot of the times when we talked about, you know, we said we didn't really see that many ultimates coming out from Hebo and being able to use that crushing wave. And I think a lot of the time the problem was that he was thinking he would have a little bit more time to be able to use that in the fight before the silence crashed down from Chalk. And so when that silence came down, he was like, oh, I can't actually use this ultimate, and then the Kraken's released, and there's nothing he can do about it. Maybe beads would have been some kind of a solution, I don't know, but I mean, it was all so fast because it's on that LAN environment. By the time you realize what's happening, it's too late.
Yeah, and I want to point one thing out. Cognitive didn't have a tower down until the 30-minute mark. How did they control that game so well, Team SoloMid?
You know, I think it really comes down to, again, back to Trix Tank. He's so mobile. And then, of course, Cubo Fred. I mean, that's it. He got a kill in the long lane. And we talk about this a lot, that if you can get a kill in the long lane, that means the support can then join the middle lane. And I mean join. Join is the word that I want to use here, because that's exactly what happens. The support will plant themselves in the mid lane. It's not uncommon if your long lane is losing to have a support sitting there in front of you. You lose every mid camp, and then of course that builds up on top of it. And the fact that they were able to get such a dominant control of the early game, it means that they never really had a chance on Cognitive to even push a tower at all.
Right.
Yeah, and we saw obviously the Hebo pick versus the Raw solo. And we can talk about how, you know, when you pick Hebo, you can't really siege towers as well as a Raw, right? Raw has a heal, and with that being said, if you're gonna go the double mage build, you kind of need the presence from a jungler at least, or something of that nature. But Chalk, as we talked about, he has a double heal, right? He can use his one, follow it up with a 3, and he's sitting in a double heal with a Raw heal, and they can siege down towers really effectively. I don't think they had an answer. I mean, Hebo wasn't able to provide that support for his team that Raw did that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I just got word that we are going to be going to an interview with hi-rez Kelly and Game Hunter. What? Like the MVP of this match.
I mean, not just this match, unbelievable this tournament.
Yeah,
I mean,
completely.
a pentakill.
Yeah,
Can we just do the pentakill as a group at the table?
Alrighty,
I think we can.
we are looking at right.
1, 2, 3.
Oh. Just wait. I'm here with Game Hunter, the MVP of the tournament right now from Team SoloMid. We just saw a play right there done by Trix Tank stealing the Fire Giant. That's a really risky move going against 4 other people. What was going through your team's mind?
Well, from my perspective, I couldn't really see that much, but we were all pretty much screaming when we saw the buff was on us when he stole it, so it was really overwhelming.
All right, so I think everyone here is kind of a big fan of the Vamana pentakill. Do you guys agree? By far the best play we've seen this weekend. Were you nervous? Were you excited? How were you so confident being able to kill 5 of them?
Well, I pretty much soloed 3 of them with the Deathbringer crits. I was pretty lucky on that one, but I also had the kin size for the 2 last ones, but so I was really happy for that one. I couldn't really hear anything at all because the team was screaming.
All right, so you guys are going to be facing either... You guys are going to either be facing Dignitas or Cognitive up in the grand finals. Who would you rather be facing? Who are you more afraid to face against up in the grand finals?
I think I'm going to give that to Dignitas because they're more into the unusual than Cognitive is.
So, do you have anything you want to say to your fans or your sponsors? Because I think you got a bit of a few fans after that pentakill.
I can't describe how much I appreciate it. It's really overwhelming. They're so nice. So just keep supporting. It helps a lot.
Alrighty, thank you so much and good luck in the grand finals. And we are now going to go back to the casters.
All the love for our boy Game Hunter there. What a player, buddy. Congratulations to TSM in the grand finals. I'm hi-rez Bart.
My name is DM Brandon.
And we have a lot more great Smite action for you starting tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time.
That's a lie.
The Losers Bracket Finals.
We don't have a lot more, Bart. We're very much close to the end. There are 2 sets remaining.
Okay.
This is the big money we're fighting for now.
Yeah, it is. This is where it starts getting into where you're talking about $20, $30, $40, $50,000 for every game you're able to win from here on out.
Yeah, and that's life-changing money.
That's quite a bit. You could buy a nice Jetta.
Man, why'd you always got to do this?
Yeah, I don't know, because I know that you're, taking the Leather Express.
Stupid.
But, tell us a little bit about the brackets. Where we ended up. How did we get here?
All right, so Dignitas started off the day pretty strong. They went up. They had to fight SK today, going towards losers finals, and SK was riding high. I mean, they just come hot off a win over Snipe, and I don't think anyone really expected SK to go over Snipe. Most fantasy brackets, we checked the Twitch chat, the Twitter, all of it was rooting for Snipe, but NQ and the boys held it down, got themselves into 4th place, but they did fall to Team Dignitas, who is going to face off against Cognitive Gaming. After their loss to Team SoloMid, they're going to fight in the lower bracket finals tomorrow morning, bright and early.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be back here bringing you all of that coverage, but that will do it for tournament play tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. That is going to be it here from the commentator desk. My name is hi-rez Bart.
I am DM Brandon.
And we're going to toss it back to the host, guys. Have a great night.